What about these podcast mics, huh, man? These are legit now. I was doing labs before all
Yeah,
this stuff. This is all new stuff to me.
nice.
But yeah, man, how you
Moving,
been?
moving right on up.
That's it. I have to for you. I mean, you're a DP. You worked on some pretty crazy stuff that we'll dive into, of course.
Come in here and relight everything.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. You might have to, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, oh, that lantern's a bit off on the center right now.
yeah.
But
That's actually something I've always had in the back of my mind. Like when I've worked with another DP, it's like, are they gonna think about what my lighting is here?
yeah. No, I was like, dude, this guy's like probably the most like legit guy I've done so far. So like, if he comes in here and like my tubes are a little misaligned, or this is a little the temperature's off or the angles are off, I might get some shit for it. I might not hear from you again.
Gonna have to go adjust those tubes.
Yeah, no, I might not hear from you again, man. But appreciate you coming. I know it's a little snow this morning, so
Yeah.
I'm glad we made it work for people listening and watching. It snowed. It was like 3 inches, maybe. Like
Yeah,
last
3 or
night.
4, something like that.
So we made it work, though.
Made it
We're
work.
here.
Had to get like thick layer of ice off my car this morning.
How'd you
So-
get that off?
It took a while. Had to like get up on the step there and like
Yeah, just
knock
start bashing that thing.
bash it.
Yeah.
You know?
Hopefully you didn't damage it. Well,
No, I think we're good.
I think you're
I
good.
think we're good.
Well, again, appreciate you coming. I wanted to just start a conversation by like noting your tattoos because like I actually met you at the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
In June. Yeah, it was June, and I think we just started talking about. I think because I had the camera and like you were just asking me about the A7 III and then I was rocking with and the setup and stuff. So do you go to that tattoo shop for all your tattoos?
Sasha at that tattoo shop actually did all of my tattoos here.
And I see they're film related, so I wanted to like ask you like the meaning of each.
Yeah, it's kind of like a collage. I kind of had wanted tattoos for a long time, but I didn't really have anything in particular that I wanted to commit to. And then I found Sasha's work on Instagram actually, and it was exactly the style that I wanted to go for, like the thin line work and all that. So I made like a kind of a mood board bunch of reference images, and I sent them over to her. We had a consultation, and she came up with this whole sleeve design, and I'd never had a tattoo before, so I wasn't quite ready to go for a full sleeve, but it looked so cool.
So you got them all at once. You didn't do like piece by. I know some people like to build it out over time. You just went full.
Yeah, it's full sleeve. I mean, it was 3 sessions, but it was all like one project.
So you gave her like the mood board. Did she contribute to like the actual design a little bit too? Like
Oh,
you kind of
totally.
meshed it.
Yeah, like there's like all of these line elements and stuff she kind of came up with. I had like this lens element on the mood board, but she took this one and kind of found a way to combine them together in a flow.
I like the thin work because it's like subtle. You know what I mean? Like it's not like because some people have sleeves and it's like there's no like you can't see your skin pigmentation at all.
Yeah.
through it. Like
Yeah.
there you can kind of like you can see it like everything and it's like intricate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you
So-
can actually you can read the slate,
Oh shit! What does it
Yeah.
say?
just normal slate things, but
Oh shit! So like, would you have to get that touched up like over time
Probably.
because then it gets like
probably yeah.
doesn't it like I don't know what it does like it kind of like dissipates.
It dissipates a little bit, yeah. Especially with like sunburns and all that kind of stuff. So I've just made sure to take really good care of it. I think it was like March 2023 that I got this, and it like you can still read all the little
And
letters.
you haven't done touch ups yet. It's just
No,
been
yeah.
It looks. I mean, it's
So-
aged well. I think.
Yeah, just gotta keep it moisturized,
Dude, Sasha's great though.
Yeah.
When I went there, like I've been there twice now, and like she's always been so like nice and welcoming. I actually want to do like a short film with her. I know you do like stuff with her. You did like those film pictures, right?
Yeah,
At
yeah.
night. Those
Yeah.
look really sick, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you use lights for those? Because I know they're kind of like neon, like going on her face.
Yeah, most of it is kind of just what I found like downtown Chinatown, but then I do like for those shoots I kind of carry this little pocket LED RGB light, and I use that for the key light.
Yeah.
So like just to throw like the pink light.
Is that those aperture? I know they have the aperture MC
It's
lights.
similar, yeah. It's a different brand. I think it's like Bowling or Bowling. I'm not sure how
Gotcha.
it's pronounced, but yeah, it's like the size of an iPhone.
And those apertures, by the way, because I wanted to get one, dude, they're like $200 for like a pack of two. I'm like, dude, I know they're like full RGB.
Yeah.
I know they got like the temperature range and stuff, but like, dude, that's like, I know they come in clutch like for most things, and
Yeah.
like they can charge that price, but I'm like, dude, as like a college kid that like just wants to like, you know, have a few different trinkets like in my bag, like for those lights, I'm like, I don't know, I can't justify it yet.
Yeah, they're pricey. I think the good thing is there's a lot of other brands that are starting to fill in the gaps a little bit there. So yeah, just go to B&H and play.
Yeah.
They've got them all lined up there.
Yeah, I've actually never been to B&H.
Really?
I know it's bad. I live on Long Island, and I'm like, I haven't been to B&H. I've
Wow.
just ordered stuff online from it. I know it's like right outside Penn Station, right?
Yeah,
Never
34th
been.
Street.
Never been. Everyone's like, dude, it's like literally like a wonderland in there.
Oh yeah, it's Christmas for filmmakers.
Yeah,
Man.
it's like you could use the lenses in there with your bodies. Like you bring in your body, and you could they just let you like use lenses and stuff. Or
Well, they've got like a huge like square when you first walk in, and it's like all kinds of different cameras, all different lenses. You can go play with, all the Blackmagic cameras, a whole bunch of Canon cameras, Sony cameras, like pretty much whatever you want. And they've got a whole bunch of lights set up and displayed on the other side. It's so good.
yeah, no, I gotta go there sometime because like everyone's like, have you not been to B&H? And like people come like to the city just to go to B&H, and they're not even from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like from here. Like I gotta go to B&H, man. I know you on your Instagram, like you show that you play a lot of ice hockey to kind of like blow off the steam from all your shoots. Because as much as like cinematography is like moving lights around and like, you know, with the camera operating, it's also like a lot of back end stuff too, where you're just sitting, right? Like, is there a lot of moments where you're just kind of like on the computer, like for a long time?
Yeah, being a freelance cinematographer, especially, it's kind of like a roller coaster in a sense where you're like, some weeks it's crazy chaos and you're working like every day of the week and you're traveling and doing all this stuff, and then other times like you don't have work for a week, or even more, and you're just sitting at home and doing nothing. So, I think it's best, I found it's best to kind of look at it, that whole thing, as the job rather than just individual shoots. Because you're always needing to invest in yourself. You're always needing to get better, learn something new, stuff like that. So, but there are definitely times where, you're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I've played ice hockey since I was a little kid. I used to be on like a travel ice hockey team when I was like 12, something like that, maybe 13. I don't remember. But we'd kind of hop around and play teams in Delaware and like New Jersey and all kinds of stuff. I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So
what town?
I grew up in a town called Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and then my family moved to the Lehigh Valley, which is kind of not too far from the Dorney Park area and all that. Yeah.
So you said you harped on like how your schedule is like very inconsistent at times. How's the schedule been like the past 2 weeks? Like walk me through like what has been your schedule? Like what's your schedule this week opposed to last week?
Yeah, this past week was a little bit lighter, and I don't remember exactly what days were what, but I was just on the road for a documentary for a couple of days. We were in Orlando, Florida, Sarasota, Florida, and then North Carolina. So I just got back from that, had a few days at home, and just been trying to catch up on the administrative stuff. You know?
That's a lot of travel. I feel like that's a documentary you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So like, are you like traveling that frequently, like for shoots like that, where it's like span of days, you're like on a plane, on a plane, on a plane, on a plane.
Yeah.
And like, has that put like a strain on you before?
Yeah, it's tiring. I had a stretch right at the end of last year, stretch of days where I had a shoot every single day for 17 days straight.
Wow.
And absolutely not complaining because that's amazing and I'm super grateful. But on a human level, it's really tiring.
Yeah.
And some of that did include shooting all day in like Arizona or somewhere, and then I had to catch a red-eye flight home overnight. Got to the airport at 6 a.m. and had to go from the airport right to set in New York.
So are you sleeping on the plane at all? You catching up some Z's in the meantime, or?
I try.
Yeah.
I try. It's I've never been able to sleep well on planes, but I found this neck pillow that has like
yeah?
it has got like a strap that you can kind of hook it to the back to the seat.
Yeah, yeah.
And it holds your head up so you're not like,
Yeah.
falling
Yeah,
down.
yeah, and your neck's
And
fucked.
I think that was probably one of the bigger issues with falling asleep on planes is because you're not stable.
Yeah, yeah.
And that seemed to help a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I just think this lifestyle in general is just very like, you're not getting a lot of sleep at times, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you gotta like, people like, oh, caffeine's like, it's a drug, it's addictive, it's bad. But you know what I mean? Like it's you need it for this stuff. And we talk about this at the office too. And it's like, I showed you the Red Bull freaking fridge we got out there. We're Red Bull enthusiasts, but I'll like my caffeine intake since like professionally doing this for like a year now has gone up. Like I've gone from 1 cup of coffee a day to 2, and then like from 2 cups of coffee a day to now 2 with a Red Bull at like 6 p.m. just to like get wired when I do my editing after like a long shoot. So it's definitely like, I don't know like how much of an effect that has on like your health and in the long term, like all this caffeine intake and this, no sleep. My friend was saying, oh, you get like dementia quicker if you like, cause if you don't have a lot of sleep. Apparently that's true.
Something I've heard something of that nature, but it's kind of interesting too because caffeine has never really had a huge effect on me, so I can't really quite use it as that crutch.
Really? Like it's just like it doesn't give you that wired like.
Yeah, I can kind of like have a cup of coffee and then like take a nap a little bit later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's never been quite that crutch for me. So I kind of have to struggle through without.
I guess it depends on the person because I know some people that they'll drink one and they're jittery.
Yeah.
And they're like their caffeine intake's very low.
I get the jitters if I drink too much caffeine.
Yeah.
It just doesn't like have the other.
But that doesn't help. I feel
It doesn't help. Having the jitters is just being jittery.
You're just like fucked up. Like I feel like the better part is this. It's not dopamine, but there's another thing in it that like gives you that like concentrated thing.
Yeah.
That's what I like go for with the caffeine because I don't like the jitters either. Like if I'm sitting down editing, I'm having a cup of coffee. I don't want to be like this. Like I'm sitting down. Like,
like your eyes twitching.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, all right, this is because I do the nitro cold brew at Starbucks, which has like a lot more caffeine.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I don't know. Just
whatever works. Whatever works.
This is what it is. But
it is important to try to take care of yourself, though. To have longevity.
Ice hockey.
Yeah.
I guess you get your body moving, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I try to go in the gym at least like 4 or 5 times a week just to get my body, and also helps with like operating.
Yeah.
I feel like
100%.
Like your lower back, you give it a workout. You 100%. Get your biceps. Like if you're holding like a rig all day. Do you do a lot of shoulder cam stuff or more like?
Not a whole lot of that recently, but I guess probably more gimbal work recently. Holding like out here in front of you. So that's kind of still hard on your back and your posture if you're not if you're not doing that right. But
you see that tilter ring over there? Have you used one of those before with the gimbal?
I used to have a full size gimbal that was like the full handle.
Yeah,
one.
it was. I think I've seen.
I had a Ronin M.
Yes, yeah,
I think it's that one up there actually.
Yeah, that's that's an older one, right?
Yeah, it's the older one, and I got rid of that one a while back. But I used to have that one, and then obviously I've used like the full size Ronins and the Movi Pro and stuff.
And you need those right for like the bigger payloads and like the ones that are like the cameras you throw on like an RE or something on there, like a red.
Exactly.
Like those can do all the Sony mirrorless things. So like I have an RS3 Pro. So I mean, and I have they have like the carbon fiber ring, which like you save a little bit of weight on. I guess like a little bit off the back, right? But I have the aluminum one. I mean, those are great because just kind of like the weight is like pushed into 2 different spots instead of like one.
Exactly.
Grip.
One out here and then you can kind of be over here. Yeah.
And you also get more stable a little bit. You also like rest it a little bit like on your while you're not operating.
I do kind of rest when I'm doing the regular one. I kind of rest it on my hip a lot, and especially for like if I'm gonna do an interview like on the spot with that, I kind of rest it on my hip. So I'm not like just trying to like pull it out here and shaking. Yeah.
So I guess what I want to really ask you is how you got into this whole like camera cinematography thing. Like was it always a thing when you were a child that you loved like the art of cinematography and making videos and stuff like that and messing around with cameras? Like walk me through like what kind of started you on this?
Yeah, I think I didn't really know a whole lot about film production when I was a kid, obviously. But I just kind of knew, the only thing I knew was like actors were in movies, and I liked movies. So I thought I wanted to be an actor. And so I ended up, I think, acting in this student film for some guys at Drexel University in Philadelphia. and got to sword fight and do all kinds of cool
shit.
stuff. It was a lot of fun. But on that set was like my first exposure to, other roles in production, like seeing the cinematographer, seeing, people doing lighting, choreography. Like I was like, oh, this is there's a lot of collaboration involved in this.
Yeah.
I probably wasn't thinking about it that, clearly at the time, but I just thought it was really cool. And I was kind of like, oh, you could put the camera over there. It would be cool if you did this. What would be really cool?
Yeah.
And just kind of cringing thinking about how I would react to that now. But no, after that, I just kind of got really intrigued with the whole creation process.
Yeah.
And I went home and I found my family had this little Canon PowerShot, like digital camera that had a video function. So I started just like making home movies with that, and I taught myself like Windows Movie Maker, and I figured out that if you leave the camera still and then like stand in front of it and then move out of the way and then you cut out the part where you move, it just looks like you teleported.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so cool,
Just amazed.
I just figured out like how to teleport people and like visual effects.
Well, I love those home video things, and you know what? The saddest thing is, like, I don't have any access to those things because I think they were all on my iPad, and I guess I just like deleted. I don't know what happened. Like, I used to do those things like on iMovie all the time, like the most stupid home videos, like all my friends in it, but it was like literally the building blocks, right? And I can't find it. Like I don't know where they are. I don't know where they could be. They're all on iMovie, but I guess they just kind of, because I think my mom, it was her iPad, and she kind of like just tossed it.
Oh,
and
no.
then, like, I lost all that stuff, dude.
That's a shame.
So you have those
I have a
videos?
bunch of them, yeah. I ended up putting some of them on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're hidden now. But, but after all of that, it was actually my mom who was kind of like, hey, the local community college has a film program. Why don't you go for that? And I was like, oh, I don't have to choose a real job. Like, I can go to school for film. Great. And then it was kind of full steam ahead from there. Honestly, I went to Bucks County Community College in Pennsylvania, and we just had a blast. Like a whole group of us students and stuff. Just hung out in the film lab all the time. Spent, I even went there on days I didn't have school, just because it was such a cool place to be and have fun. We made a whole bunch of like extracurricular projects, and I got to kind of get my hands on a whole bunch of different elements of production, and that was kind of before I specifically went down the cinematography path.
So because it says on your LinkedIn you went to St. John's. So did you transfer there after?
Yeah.
How many years were you at the first school, and then how many years
So I went to Bucks County Community College for 2 years, got my associates, transferred to St. John's, and then got my bachelor's from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
how 2 years at each spot.
How was the experience at St. John's versus Bucks? Like, was there a difference?
Yeah. I think Bucks was a little bit more like small community based, but they had a terrific film program. Especially for a community college, it was amazing. They let us in the film lab all the time. They let us take out the equipment for whatever we wanted. They had like Canon 7Ds, and I think they had a 5D, but it was 7Ds mostly. So that was kind of the first camera that I really got to play with. But St. John's, by comparison, didn't quite live up to the community college in terms of film program. I met a lot of other like lifelong friends there and stuff, but the film program specifically, was a little bit, I'm not sure what the right word is, but it just wasn't quite as robust.
Maybe like felt a little maybe like detached in a sense, like
it just I think the attitude of it was a little bit more like, they wouldn't let us use the school equipment unless it was for a class project signed off for by the professor. So it was a little bit like tougher to do anything, and it didn't feel like a place that, putting all that extracurricular effort was encouraged. In a sense.
So you said they only let it use for like basically school like projects that relate to class. Did you have like a senior film type thing? And what was it?
What did we do? I don't think we had like a big project. Because like the classes were a little bit disjointed, so there wasn't like an overall this is my senior thesis film. It was kind of like, okay, I got to deliver this for this class and this for this class. But yeah, your question again, sorry.
So like in terms of actually like they only let you use the gear for class stuff. Did you have a senior film? Like, what was the whole like general kind of concept of it, and like, was that like your first time making like a sort of like a serious film before, or like?
Well, it's kind of funny because I almost had my senior thesis film, and I'm doing quotes right now, was at the community college because like a whole group of us went together and we made like a feature length film.
Wow.
Like over the course of a whole semester there.
Wow.
And a bunch of us used it as submissions for like a final project there.
Wow.
But there wasn't really any sort of equivalent senior thesis project that I got at St. John's. It was more like individual classes, the final for this class, the final for that class.
Weird. They didn't make you do like a senior film. I feel like that's kind of like a staple of like a film like program, like doing your final like kind of thing. Like at Hofstra they do that where it's like, oh, it's my senior thesis film. It's like it's a big thing.
I think it's because they're really not a film school. You know, they have a film program and they teach you film stuff, but I don't think they have the
So then what drew you to go there to begin with? Was it kind of like they kind of sold you on the whole idea of the film program there, or?
Yeah, I didn't have the chance to tour a whole lot of other places, honestly, but I did like what I saw when I went on the tour, and they have like a pretty big television program that broadcasts out that's student run. But I made the best of it, and I ended up being like the president of the film club there.
Oh shit.
And the film club actually had some 5Ds and stuff that they would, we could use for whatever, and students that joined the film club could sign them out for whatever.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of more the film club creating the openness.
Well, that's how it is. I feel like it's like the classwork is kind of like the BS stuff, and then what actually like gets you to learn stuff is like when you're actually interacting with students outside of it and like doing that stuff. I agree, and that's kind of the vibe at Hofstra too. Obviously, I told you I switched from filmmaking BFA to marketing, but
so why'd you make that switch?
So I guess I always knew what I wanted to do when I was a little kid, like. Just like you, I picked up like cameras and did like home videos, like messing around, editing, like teleporting people, stuff like that, all that like fun stuff. And I got into photography in my senior year of high school. And I was like car photography in specific because my dad's a car guy and he kind of like introduced me to automotive stuff. And I've just been like really infatuated with like car content. So that's where I kind of started, right? So then I come to Hofstra and I'm like, all right, I want to study film. So I get to Hofstra. I enlisted in my first semester of classes. I took intro to screenwriting, intro to cinema studies, and then like other electives that weren't related to film. And I don't know what the feeling was. I just kind of like didn't like studying film from like a academic standpoint. I felt that it almost like conventionalized it in like a bad way for me, where I kind of detached myself from like why I actually liked this in the first place. In terms of like, again, I loved my screenwriting teacher, and like he had great advice in class, but I just felt it became conventionalized to me, and I never got into that. I never got into the craft for that reason, right? So I also felt a little detached from the kids there because I felt not in like a superiority complex way, but like I just felt like I didn't resonate with them really. Like my goals were a little different. Like I was doing stuff on Instagram. I was growing my account. I was just kind of like getting out there in that route instead of like the academia way. And I don't know, I just kind of, honestly, looking back on it, so I switched to marketing because I thought it was safer. But to be honest with you, I probably, at this point, like being a senior now, about to graduate, I probably just should have done the filmmaking BFA because like I'm not going to use my marketing degree anyways. You know what I mean? Like I thought I would do like something in marketing instead, like my midway through college. And I just resorted back to film anyways, like doing all this stuff, social media, stuff like that. So I don't know. It was a weird little like roller coaster, but
yeah, I have some thoughts on that. And actually, I feel like having a film degree doesn't really help you with a lot. You know, I've kind of felt like no one's asked me to see my diploma.
Yeah.
I'm a freelancer. They just want to see the work. Like no one asks me like what classes I had in college. Like, it's more about like your knowledge and who you know and how good you are at the work.
It's also though like what like you can't teach someone that like you can't teach someone that like this looks good. Like they have to just kind of like know that. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
in terms of like
You can break it down academically, obviously, but
yeah, like the 3-point lighting and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, like you have to like be like, this is my vision. Like I know it looks good. And like some people like I don't know. I've met people that just don't. They don't like. They think something looks good. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like I'm not. I don't like to hate. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I was like, that just doesn't look too good, man. And like like you're studying all this stuff at film school, but like you just kind of like some people like just have that eye for it naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I totally agree. It's just like no one's asked you for your film degree.
Yeah, and,
so.
and honestly, like having a marketing degree, you can use that knowledge to help you in the film world.
Exactly.
Because you can be out there, marketing companies, doing like promo packages, or selling retainer services.
It's helped for social media.
Mm.
It's helped me like kind of leverage like content the right way because
Yeah.
I take social media marketing classes, and obviously the teacher's like 100 years old and like is totally disconnected from like the modern social media world, but like it opened me up to like the methodology behind it and like what actually gets people to click on a video.
Yeah.
What actually drives a personal brand. Those things honestly did help me. But like you said, like in terms of film school, like Chris Nolan didn't go to film school. He couldn't get into film school.
Yeah.
Tarantino, he was working in like a video store for the longest time in his whole 20s and then decided to write Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Have
like
you heard that
crazy.
funny story about the guy who wrote Godfather?
Coppola, right? Or no, he directed.
He directed, yeah.
Who wrote it?
I forget his name.
What happened?
And you can cut this out if it's not true.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But so basically, the writer of Godfather, he didn't have any background or experience in screenwriting, so he wrote this film, smash hit Godfather, all this stuff, and then he was like, you know what, I should probably learn like how to actually write screenplays.
Yeah.
I should study a little bit, and then he went and bought a book on screenwriting, and then right in the front it was like study the Godfather.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
like a fucking full circle moment right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to
can't-
follow your gut.
Exactly.
I think it's helpful to know the rules and the
Mhm.
conventional rules of filmmaking and production, and then you can more intelligently decide when to break them.
So in terms of books, you said books. Have you read books on filmmaking? Which
Some,
ones
yeah.
have you done? I read Save the Cat. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's about screenwriting in particular.
I have heard of that one.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like a no bullshit like screenwriting book. It's really cool actually. But I've always loved reading. But I don't know if you've ever read.
Yeah,
any.
there's a couple books. One of them I really liked was what's the title? If It's Purple, Someone's Gonna Die, and it's a book on color theory.
Mm.
So I like that one a lot. They really dive into the psychology of color and like how humans perceive color on screen, and then how we can kind of incorporate that into our cinematic language.
Yeah.
To influence the audiences the way we want them to feel about something, about how we want them to perceive a character, and so forth.
You went to film school, right? You did the Bucks program for associates. Then you went to St. John's. Did you have any mentors along the way that kind of like helped you out, or mentors even when you graduated that sort of like kind of bridged that gap into the film world?
I don't think I've really had any like big mentors in the cinematography world. I've kind of, it's just been like a step by step process for me. But someone who's been more of a life mentor and like a business mentor, and kind of like an industry business at large mentor is Gerald Isaac, who is the director of a lot of the music videos that I've shot.
Mm.
And it's a pretty crazy story of how I met him. Is going back to one of the first cameras I ever had, which was the Blackmagic Production 4K, the chunky box camera. I posted some test footage on YouTube, and I edited the test footage into kind of a mood piece. I found this music, and I made a nice edit out of it, and footage that I shot a few different places, and it ended up getting a ton of views, and it was one of the higher viewed Blackmagic Production 4K videos, and he found it on YouTube.
Wow.
Because he was researching buying that camera for himself, because he's a music executive, and he was looking to start his own production company so he could produce his own music videos as well. And he was researching this camera, and he found my video, and he just emailed me and was like, "Hey, let's meet up. Like, I've got some music videos I want to shoot." And I was like, "Okay, sure. Let's meet up." So I went and met up with him, and we just talked for like an hour and a half at a diner in New York about all kinds of things. And he was asking questions like, "What's the difference between cinematography and videography?"
What do you think it is, by the way?
I kind of look at that as, cinematography being something like a job where you create, what's in front of the lens, whereas videography is recording what you find.
Yeah, because I feel like people use that word a lot interchangeably, but I feel like they're not the same
Yeah,
thing.
and I've definitely been called a videographer on jobs where I technically was not a videographer.
What do you like being? You like being called a cinematographer, I assume.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. I don't like the word videographer either. I feel like it kind of like everyone's a videographer nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because like you see all those kids with gimbals
Mhm.
and mirrorless cameras now, and like they get a gimbal and they get a camera and they get a kit lens and they're a videographer.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
So,
But by the same token, someone's dad buys them a cinema camera, and now they're a cinematographer.
yeah, it's like, all right, dude.
So, I definitely think, there's a lot of that going around.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so I was explaining all these things to Gerald, and we just kind of really hit it off. He ended up buying a lot of equipment, and we have, since done like over 50 projects together.
Mm.
And all of the projects have been getting successively bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Nice. What are some you can name off the top of your head with him?
Yeah, so we started off with a couple of music videos for the R&B artist Joe.
Okay.
And the first one was kind of like it was like a special music video for I think it was for Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
Way back when, it's like 2016 or 17. And then we did like a full on music video for him a little bit later. And we had, I think it was a Red Epic at the time.
Yeah.
I forget what lenses we had. I think we had Cook lenses, dollies. We had a big grip truck. We had a full crew, and stuff. And so at that time, that was probably the biggest set that I'd ever been on. And especially I was the DP too.
So is that overwhelming? Like at first when you're like, you walk on that set and you're like, do you feel almost like imposter syndrome with that stuff?
Yeah, I definitely have felt that for a large portion of my career.
What is like the first kind of thing you walk there, you get on shoot, like what's going through your head
Now or like when
you first started? Let's do both. Well,
Yeah.
When you started versus now, what's changed?
I think I've always really liked knowing what I'm walking into, like knowing what to expect. And when you don't have the experience to know what to expect, I think it's a little daunting. But I guess being a cinematographer, I never really started out in like a camera operator role or an assistant camera operator role where I would have been exposed to these things. But I also think that helped me in another way where, I'm always involved in the planning and stuff. So I kind of knew what to expect when we got there. We would scout, we would, figure out what things needed to be, what they needed to look like. And so it wasn't as much of it wasn't so overwhelming because I knew what I was walking into and I was kind of prepared for that. But the biggest thing that's changed from then until now, I think, is being quick with it, being more decisive with it, and being able to work quickly and decisively in an environment of high pressure.
Yeah. So then, this guy Gerald, right? His name.
Gerald. Yeah.
So he kind of like he was your door into kind of the music video
videos,
world.
yeah.
That kind of like kickstarted everything, and you
Yeah.
said it's from YouTube.
And
That's
most
crazy.
of the music videos that I've shot have been with him. I haven't really actually shot a whole bunch of music videos with anyone else.
So that's crazy. That just shows like to the audience, the power of social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he just clicked on your YouTube video and I guess he just commented on there, or he like went to your Instagram. Or?
I think I had a contact
yeah.
button on there or something. He had he was able to get my email.
Yeah.
Sent me an email. And it wasn't even like a formal email that you might look to get from someone who like
mm-hmm.
runs a company. It was like hey, like you would send somebody a message on social media, more like. So I was young and inexperienced at the time, so I wasn't quite I wasn't sure how to take it.
Yeah.
Because I was like expecting formality.
Yeah.
And stuff, but you
just gotta go with it and run with it, right?
Yeah.
Man? Once you knew that was like legit, like you were just like, all right, pack them. I'm like
let's go, let's
Yeah.
go. It's not about formality in this industry, especially.
Oh, absolutely. And I get like rogue DMs occasionally of just like,
yeah.
It's funny. I got a DM one time. Motor Trend.
Word of caution though. Can't chase after all random informal messages.
Absolutely. But I find honestly that the bots will have the ones that are more formal. They're like, hey, they'll put like they'll be like, hey, and like 2 spaces, Tony. 2 spaces, because like they just kind of fill in names.
Yeah.
We want you to like, I don't even know, like we can kickstart your brand and you pay ads for you. I'm like,
none of that.
But I got a DM from a guy who was at Motor Trend. He's not there anymore, and it was just like the most casual DM ever. Unfortunately, never came from anything. He just was like, I've seen like your reels. He just clicked on one of my reels one time. And I think it had like a couple million views. It was just like a very simple, like horizontal, like so you would be on Reels and you would like turn your phone to like view it. And it was just a couple of beauty shots of a car. And he's like, I saw your work. Like, would you be interested in like, we have a new journalist out in New York. Like, would you want to like document that journey like of her like doing car reviews and like driving upstate? I'm like, fuck it, I'm in. But it was like months and months of just no following up. And I kept asking. And nothing ever came from it. And he's since left the company. So you get both, right? You get leads that kind of just don't like...
Of course.
Blossom. But it's funny how I actually got into this room, this whole studio, with this production company.
Yeah.
So the guy, Sam, Schwa Films, for those listening, it's on Instagram. He's like a very like notable car videographer. He's got like, I think like 250K on Instagram, 250K on YouTube, 150K on Instagram. People like his stuff. He's like kind of like one of the bigger like in the East Coast of like videographers for cars, because it's not that many to be like frank. But so he does like car features and like all that stuff. So he was selling his Atomos right there, that Ninja that I have, on Instagram, and I've been following him for like a minute now, and I was like, all right, like I kind of need the Ninja. I had to literally put A7S before, the little freaking plastic thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need this. But also, this would be a great way to just like get in his like office and shake his hand and like potentially try to, get work under my belt. Because I was also like, this was literally a year ago, like around this time, and I just walked in. I obviously bought the Ninja. It was at a good price, and we just started talking about other things. I was like, hey, like by the way, like if you're willing like to just take a chance, like I'll come on a job for free, and I just want to see like what this is all about, because this is everything I want to do. Like, I'm a videographer. I've been doing it for like a couple months now, and he just took a chance, and ever since then, I've been able to now shoot podcasts in this room. So it's weird how that all works out, right?
Yeah.
It's really weird, because it's even the guy before that I did, Ryan. He met someone when he was also in college at like a bar, and he started doing music videos with him, and he's just like, hey, I have this job for you. Like, you ready? Like, you just got to go, right?
I think that's one of the most interesting facets of this business is, how interpersonal it is. It's, there are obviously places to like submit job applications for stuff, but most of my work that I've gotten has been through like being introduced from someone that I know, meeting someone in a random situation like that.
Well, look at this.
Look at this. We met, at a random street party for a tattoo shop.
Yeah. And I just happened to be there recording it.
Yeah.
Doing like a recap.
And I happened to be there because Sasha did my sleeve. And I wasn't even sure I could make it that day too, because I had a hockey game right
Oh
after that. So I
shit.
left that party and went right to a hockey game in
Oh
Queens.
shit, dude! You fucking. I thought you were drinking and stuff there. No, you just
No,
could.
no,
No.
no drinking. Yeah, I was drinking Gatorade.
It's funny. The guy I did before, Ryan. I don't know. Do you know Ryan Windsor? He also gets tattoos at that
No,
place,
no.
but he's a DIT.
Oh, cool.
And that's where I met him at the tattoo shop too. So it's funny.
At the
I like
same party?
the last two episodes, like I'm like kind of doing my tattoo guys now. And it's funny. The next guy is Mikhail. So
Oh, he's coming on the
yeah,
pod?
he's coming on. He has a tattoo shop, but he's also like really into film and like he's done a couple things. So I
Yeah.
wanted to get him.
I like him,
on
yeah.
an episode. He's really
Yeah,
cool.
when I was getting my sleeve, actually, he kind of like stopped over like Sasha's
Yeah.
station, and we ended up talking about film and stuff. And he owns like,
Dude,
he owns like some film cameras and.
Some dude, he has so many lenses. Like he has like I don't know if I should even say this. Like on the platform I edit out, but like he has like a ton of like cinema lenses. It's really cool.
Oh, probably trying to rent them. You could probably say that.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
if you're trying to rent them, don't steal them. But no, he's really cool. So we're trying to get the setup in the actual shop.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
cool.
bring all my shit and like try to get something
Yeah.
in that shit because it's a really cool like scene. They got the whole wall with the mural on the right side. Shoot down that wall. It look kind of cool.
Yeah.
But cool. So want to get into like some notable pieces of work I saw on your website and social media. So the one and only Dick Gregory. Has that been like your most recent sort of documentary that you've done?
No. So the most recent one, well, I'm working on one right now. And it's
like you said.
it's a ESPN one, ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on Stuart Scott.
Nice.
So I probably can't get into too many more details on that yet, but that's what I'm currently working on. I was down in Florida and North Carolina for. And before that, I did a History Channel documentary on Jesse Owens, the Olympic sprinter.
Nice.
So that premiered on History a couple
A lot of
months back.
sports stuff then. You're doing some sports stuff.
Some sports stuff, yeah. And then before that, I did a short documentary called Angola, Angola, Do You Hear Us? And we went into Louisiana State Penitentiary. And we're filming a documentary on Lisa Jessie Peterson, who is a performer who is going in to perform her play that she performs off Broadway.
Wow.
In the prison.
Oh shit.
So that was a whole experience. But
so what cameras are you using on those, by the way? Because if you're traveling a lot, like this was a topic I wanted to get into, like traveling with gear.
Yeah.
Because like you're doing a lot of that stuff. Like which cameras are you using for these kind of things? Like these kind of run and gun scenarios.
I'm shooting a lot of them now on Sony. I've got FX3, FX9. So that's been kind of my primary cameras for my current documentaries. But the Angola film was shot on my GH5, Panasonic GH5. And the one and only Dick Gregory was a combination of Sony FS7s and then FX9s.
So what's the difference between the FS and the FX?
The FS7 is like the older generation.
Gotcha.
And so it's the one that, everyone was using for like, the travel documentary shows. It was like a workhorse documentary and corporate camera. And I used to use that camera all the time for travel shoots, but it was really annoying to work with because, the menus were kind of laggy. You'd kind of like scroll on like the scroll wheel and the selector would go past, what you were trying to select, and then you'd have to stop and then go back. And so it was a little annoying to work with like that. So the new one, so the FX9 is basically the new generation, the new model.
So so I know people do FX6 a lot for docs. Why do you
Yeah.
choose the FX9 over the 6?
The FX9 is a little bit more like a rentable camera, I've found.
Okay.
It's a great all-around camera. It's got more audio inputs. It's got more SDI outputs. It's a little bit more built for production, whereas the FX6 is a little bit more suited for like quicker run and gun type productions.
I feel like and then you just get smaller. Like FX3 is even more run and gun.
More run and gun, yeah, and like gimbal work and that kind of stuff.
I honestly think though that like I would have appreciated more the internal variable ND on the FX6 though.
Yeah,
that thing's fucking clutch.
Yeah, I'm planning to get an FX6, I think, because some of the doc work, the FX9 is too big, Like
Yeah,
I don't want to
that
like
is pretty
run
good.
around and like handhold shoot with that all the time.
Yeah.
And then I have to build up the FX3 too much
Exactly.
in order to
and
use it
it's
for
like,
the same thing. I'm trying to put like a wireless transmitter. I'm trying to put
it's like an itty bitty little
so I got
guy.
to put a cage on there, and then I got to put rails, and then all the things, and it's just like this kind of like Frankenstein rig.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
even that, like it looks like it's got like too much on it. I don't like the top handle. I don't like the design of it.
Yeah, I wish it was differently designed. It's a
got
little
the
flimsy.
It's got it's just like it's not very like space conscious.
No,
Like why do
it's
you
really
put
not.
in the big box on the top? Like why don't you like make it more like?
That's the hardest thing to pack in my kit is that
Oh,
handle.
how do you do it, by the way?
So I've got a couple different like methods of packing, I guess, for all these travel shoots. And it really comes down to, again, doing my best to understand what I'm walking into,
Yeah.
because I kind of not like super formally, but I go through this process of trying to like visualize what the day is going to look like of a shoot, right? So I'm going to be like, okay, we're shooting in this space. There's big windows. We're probably going to end up looking either into this corner or to that corner because everywhere else is like a white wall.
Yeah.
Those are the only two, directions to look in based off of, getting sent pictures or
Yeah.
whatever. Half the time, I don't even know what I'm walking into with some of
Mm.
this stuff. And it's like, figure it out when you get there. But when I am able to plan like that, I don't have to bring as much.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I just kind of go through the day and I figure out, how I think I'm going to light something. I'm probably going to need to clamp up like diffusion over this window. So I'm going to bring clamps and I'm going to bring diffusion.
Gotcha. So you got how many Pelican cases do you have? Probably too many, right?
Right now I've got like a think tank roller bag, like an
Mm.
airport carry-on size roller bag. I've got a full size like think tank stand bag, kind of like that one over there, the
Gotcha.
black one. But
Gotcha.
it's like a tall, like doubly high, roller case. And then I've got a hard like Pelican tripod case.
Gotcha.
And a big thick Pelican 1635, I think it is, that I've put like 3 lights in.
Mm.
But I kind of pack a little variably, depending on what I'm going to be doing.
Exactly.
I figured out how to put my whole gimbal in the think tank roller, like the carry-on size case, in addition to my FX3, my lenses, like everything.
And the top handle?
And the top handle, yeah.
Damn.
But that's the hardest thing to fit in there.
It's just...
But I got to kind of like put it in like sideways and...
Because it takes
Yeah.
like it's got... Like if you like turn it on its side, it's so wide because it's got... Obviously, the part where it screws onto the actual body, but then the highest point of it is that where it holds the shotgun. So it's like, so it's like this when you lay it down like that.
It's so
like
big.
this big.
It's so big.
And you can't do it the other way because it's also tall too. So
yeah,
it's like,
and then you got to be careful of not damaging, the shoe connector.
It's funny
because that's how actually the audio works.
One of the guys here cracked his top handle.
I'm not surprised. They're kind of flimsy.
Yeah, because he was just running and gunning. He was using it with like this Sony shotgun they make for it because that's the one that fits.
Yeah,
that actually fits.
I had to get a rubber insert to put in
Isn't
there
that
to
ridiculous?
fit the. I have a Sony mic too, but it's thinner, so I had to get an insert.
You have to
in
get
there.
that one. It's like, come on, dude, and it's not even like the best one you can get too. Like the Sennheiser is probably like better, right?
Yeah.
Than that. So, but then the Sennheiser, it's too long, so it's getting in the shot if you have like a wide lens on it. So it's like, bro, I can't win with this top handle.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The GH5 had like a little compact box style. It wasn't a handle though. It was just like an XLR attachment.
Yeah.
So that would sit on top, and it was, pretty
the
small.
handle part of it is just subpar at best. I mean, it's not even like long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind like how it feels holding it, except that it's a little flimsy and plasticky.
Yeah.
So if I have like anything beyond just the camera, like if I've got a cage, if I've got like a heavier lens, kind of like you can hear the handle like creak a little bit
Like,
when you pick it up.
If you were to pick that whole setup up, like, and I put the Ninja on it on too, like it would feel like
Yeah, you can feel it
all right.
flex.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm
like-
like, dude, I have the small rig comes with the actual like they have a NATO that goes on the top and like a top handle that feels a little more robust.
Mm-hmm.
So I use that. Obviously, when it's locked off, I'll throw like the top hand on because it's the only way I can get XLR to it.
Yeah.
But it just looks odd. It just doesn't look
Yeah.
doesn't look good.
Hopefully they'll come out with
I'm sure they're fixing
an
it.
update on that one.
With the handle piece and also the actual top part of it. But
Yeah, but fantastic camera.
oh yeah, that's probably the only
such a
complaint.
workhorse.
Yeah, absolutely. I got this in December. I just pulled the trigger on it. I was like, all right, I got the A7 III. I've been using that.
Yeah.
Like I shot the tattoo thing on the A7. I shot everything. I got it June 2022, so I used it for like a good 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, if I don't buy this now, I'm gonna buy it down the line. So like, why don't I just buy it? You know what I mean? Like I knew I was gonna buy the FX3 at some point, and I have no regrets. Like I actually got on other jobs because of this camera. Like we do live streams for like companies in the city, like FanDuel and this is big marketing firm A&M. They do like podcasts like this where we have to be all set up, and he's like, yeah, like I could actually use you now because you know the A7 with the 8-bit. But I'm like, the A7 is still great. The
Yeah.
A7 III. Did you? By the way, I didn't even get into this. What like? Did you go just straight to the FX3? Was that your introduction to Sony or the FS, whatever?
No, actually, I got the FX9 first.
Wow.
And it came on the heels of my Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro dying. So I had that camera and I was shooting with it for a while, but that's not a camera that's gonna get you jobs. Like
Gotcha.
no one's out there asking like, okay, who's got a Blackmagic Ursa?
Yeah.
You know, which
Well,
it's a great image. Like I really like that camera, but I was doing a shoot with it, and the image went black, not the screen. The image went black, so I could still see the menu.
Yeah.
It looked like I put a lens cap on, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Just the image went black.
And it was done.
And so I was like, whoa, okay, stop recording, power cycle it. Wouldn't really turn back on. Wow. Once or twice, like the menu came back, but it was like glitching out, and then it wouldn't turn on again.
It died in your arms.
It died while I was shooting on the second, like on the morning, the first shot of day 2 of a three-day job.
So what did you do?
Right in the middle. Luckily, I had my Blackmagic Pocket camera with me that I just finished the shoot with. I eventually sent it in to Blackmagic, and they were kind of like, "Yeah, the sensor died."
Wow.
And I was like, "Should I just expect? Like, how do we prevent that from happening?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, I like the image from Blackmagic, but I'm gonna go with something a little more robust." And so I got an FX9, and my roommate at the time, we both bought one, so we had like a dual FX9 package. And I was gonna buy the FX6, but he was like, you should probably buy the FX9. And I'm so glad I did.
The price is like double, right, for the FX9?
Yeah, I think it's like
6. It's like 12,000, right?
I think the body itself is like 9,900 or something.
That's fucking crazy.
But yeah, it ended up being pretty pricey with everything you have to buy for it.
I'm sure you've made your money on it.
Yeah, and so that camera is basically the reason that I got onto all of the promo shoots that I do for all the films and movies and stuff, the press junkets.
Well, going back to Blackmagic, so we do, like I said, the live streams, and we're rocking FX3s on each. And and Sam was saying, he's like, dude, if we got I don't remember which Blackmagic it is, but it's like kind of like a little box, and it's like made for broadcasting.
Yeah,
and
I
you can buy like a kit of
broadcast
3
camera,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's got the SDI in the body. It's like built for those live stream things. And he's like, dude, and it's like I can get it for like a pretty good price, and like we just might use those for live streams compared to like FX3s rigged out. You got to run the top handle. Like you got the Blackmagic, you just plug it in and it's good. It's got all the features you need. So I think there's a time and place for Blackmagic.
Of course, like I don't mean to like kind of say that they're not a viable solution, And I've actually been trying to read as much as I can about some of their new cameras that are coming out, like their Cine 12K camera, and they're actually coming out supposedly later this year with basically a digital IMAX camera.
Shit.
And that will be actually somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
Which I think is the coolest thing ever, and I'm gonna be first in line to rent that camera and play with it.
What do you think DJI's got up its sleeves? I think they're coming out with a box camera.
Oh yeah,
or a mirrorless.
I could see it.
Something they're gonna shake it up. They're gonna shake up the market because they've been just kind of drones and stabilization and
Yeah.
I feel
They've
like
got the action cameras too, though, right?
yes, yeah, I have the Action 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 3. Not good in low light. The Action 5 Pro, you should see some footage. Have you seen footage? It's amazing. It looks great.
I was looking into that a little bit, trying to compare it with, I think, the GoPro 13.
Yeah, yeah.
I might take some of those on my next documentary shoot. But
They also got the 4D.
yeah.
So Sam has a 4D. It's
Okay.
gee, it's such a lifesaver because we do the car stuff. Like I said, all we got to do is just bolt it onto the arm, the Movmax arm. You don't have to run a gimbal. It's got the big gimbal in it,
Yeah.
and you just go. It's
Yeah.
three screws, and
Yeah,
then it's like that's
I've heard a lot of good things about that camera.
wireless transmitter from DJI with the handles. You can control
Mm-hmm.
focus, everything. It's like from the cabin of the car, no
Yeah.
wires. It's like that's amazing.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And
I've never used that one myself, but it's really funny. Like, all I can think of when I see pictures of that camera is like that video of like someone like holding a chicken and
the
moving it
viral
around.
video, yeah.
And they're like, look, like a chicken is basically a gimbal.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just can't get that. image
DJI
out of
was
my
like,
head.
wait a minute.
Yeah,
what if
we could do that.
Yeah, what if we just put a gimbal and made it 4-axis? The 4th axis is actually really cool.
Yeah,
But it's apparently you shouldn't use it a lot because it actually like puts a lot of wear on that specific arm. Like you shouldn't use it for like most things. Like people will overuse it and they'll just be like walking and having like you don't need that 4th axis if you're just walking.
yeah,
Like just master the gimbal walk, you know. If you're like doing some crazy shit, all right. But like
makes sense.
don't
yeah.
put wear and tear on your gear if you don't need to.
Yeah,
So going back to document, I know we went on a little gear tangent there, but the one and only Dick Gregory. So how many days was that shoot, and sort of what's the process behind like getting that job? Like, do they pitch you and you get like a little like thing, like a packet, and you kind of take a look at what's the goal in mind, how many people are you working with, etc.
So that was an interesting one. That was my first feature documentary, and I didn't really know, like I wasn't really fully onboarded to it like as a feature film. At the time, I had a manager, and so his kind of agency got a call looking for a DP because Dick Gregory had actually just died, and they were going to be doing a big shoot and interviewing a lot of people at his funeral in Washington, D.C. So I was on another shoot somewhere, like an industrial, shoot, and I got a call. It was like, hey, are you available these days? There's a documentary going on in Washington, D.C. for like 3-4 days, and they need a DP. And I was like, yeah, awesome, great. And apparently they had seen my music video work, and they liked they liked that work, and they were cool with that, and they just kind of brought me on to DP this shoot in Washington, D.C., and that's kind of all I knew at the time.
So you're kind of left in the dark for the most part. Like
it depends. It really depends. On that particular one, it wasn't fully funded at that point. So it was kind of like, we're gonna shoot all these interviews here for these 4 days, and then we're gonna just go from there.
So that's all you know. You're getting that's the information.
So that's kind of all I knew.
Washington D.C. That's what you know.
That's kind of all I knew. So I went there. I did that shoot. And I was like, okay, cool. I just kind of, in my mind, was thinking like, on to the next.
Yeah.
And then I got another call from them and was like, hey, we've got another shoot for this, in like Boston. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool. Always great to be called back. And then so I go do that shoot. And then it was just kind of a success, like a series of shoots, over the course of 2 years.
Really? Wow.
And I had never done a featured documentary before. So I kind of, it's kind of an interesting thing. Like when you shoot a bunch of stuff, you got to put some of it out of your mind, because some of it never comes out. Some of it, just, gets lost. Like there's all kinds of things that, just end up on the cutting room floor. So then this film came out and it was premiering at Tribeca, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're credited as the DP on it.
Yeah. There's a second DP that's credited, for shooting some stuff in LA. But I shot most of the live action footage in that one.
So those shoots, it was like you said, just a succession of different shoots, and it was like mostly interview work, or you got B-roll too of stuff, or what was it?
There was a lot of interview shoots for that one, and then we actually went to the Gregory family farm in Massachusetts, and we got to film with Lily and Gregory, who is his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and filmed the farm and B-roll, and there were some old photographs that we had that were taken on the farm that we kind of recreated the angle from
Nice.
to kind of get like the present day.
And you're saying we, so how many people are kind of with you when you're shooting?
Yeah, so that one was a small crew. It was director, a couple producers, an audio guy,
So
and I
you
think a
in
production assistant.
are you in contact with the director before you get there? Like, all right, what's the plan? Like, this is what we're doing, or just kind of like you get there and then we start scheming around.
Yeah, no, earlier the better.
Yeah.
Earlier the better. For a lot of the doc work, it doesn't end up being like that though, because it's just interviews, so there's no need to really
Yeah, you
go
kind of just pick
over
an angle
any
and-
sort of any sort of creative plan. But
So do you have like a kind of like go-to interview like setup, like you're saying when you're packing, you're like, all right, what do I keep in mind? You have like a long lens, like what do you kind of have like that kind of like exercise? All right, this is what I'm going to use for interviews. Like
Yeah.
I kind of have that in my mind already.
yeah, so right now I use my Sony FX9 as the A camera. I bring 24 to 70, 50 mil, and a 70 to 200 Sony lenses, G Master lenses. I bring 2 tripods. I bring bunch of as many light stands as I
Diffusion and
can.
stuff, right?
I bring like the pop-out reflectors for my lights.
And which lights do you use for like key lights and stuff, by the way?
Yeah, I've got good old workhorse Aperture 300D.
Yep. Yeah, we
Um,
got 2 of those over there. Yeah.
with the full size dome, mini light dome. That's kind of like my key light for the travel shoots. And then I've got like I think it's an Intelitech pocket cannon. I use that for like a hair light in the back. I've got some Amran 300Cs that I
Nice.
use for fill lights, or I've just was using them for environmental like background lights to like give a pop of light in the background of some spaces that were a little dark.
You're not using cine lenses for this kind of stuff.
No.
And do they kind of like let you know the vibe before you get it? Like, let's say it's a more creative documentary, they're gonna let you know, and you're like, all right, I can use cine lenses on this. Like, I can kind of make it more characterized.
Yeah. So some of these things, and actually all of the Dick Gregory documentary, the History Channel documentary, and the ESPN documentary are all with the same production company.
Nice.
So it's the same director, some of the same producers, and so forth. So that's kind of our standard go-to for most of their work. But there's definitely a lot of other situations, where you would break out the cinema lenses and so forth. But to run a 2-camera shoot with cinema lenses, like you need to have some ACs there, to help, pull focus, because you can't be like, reacting to every micro movement of, the talent in front of the camera.
Yeah. Are you the guy? So it's just you, right? It's just you. You got the 2 cameras, and are you asking the questions too? Like
No. So we travel with. There's a producer who goes along on the trips. Me, a grip to help with lighting, and an audio mixer.
So relatively small crew.
So like 4 people. That's pretty standard like shoot, like travel shoot kind of crew. Just for this type of interview, B-roll kind of shoot.
And do you keep this footage, or you have to like get rid of it and like just give it to them? Like, how does that work?
No, the producer usually would bring a hard drive
and you just offload it.
Offload it to that. I use a program called Offshoot on my laptop, which can copy to multiple drives at the same time, runs a check on the data to make sure it's a good copy, and then there's a companion program called FoolCat, which is from the same company, and it basically will generate an automatic camera report of the card that's copied with thumbnails and metadata and like the length and everything, and it will give you like a nice PDF, so you can just kind of send that to the producer or the editor or whoever and be like, this is what we got.
So good copy. There can be like a bad copy like sent to, like, let's say you're copying, like when I like offload footage, there could be like a bad copy of something that I offload.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
It's not something that's like common, and there's nothing wrong really with just using Finder to like drag the files over, but sometimes if there's like something wrong with the hard drive, if there's like a bad segment in the hard drive, or cables, like anything wrong in the chain of things,
Yeah,
it can result in kind of like a corrupted file that ends up on the hard drive. And then you might not even know that until you go to look at it later and you're like, this file won't open.
It won't open. I think that happened because the Ninja internally records, or sorry, externally records to the SSD. So there'll be some files on the Ninja that like, well, I can't open. I think it's a little sloppy sometimes with the
So that's another
ProRes.
benefit of the camera reports in my mind, is that if a file is corrupted, it's not going to, the thumbnails won't work on the report, which you can immediately just see that and not even have to open every file.
And then you would have to just say, all right, let's do that again.
Yeah, and then
redo it.
you can kind of check that and make sure you don't format the card before you've had a chance to do everything you can to make sure that everything's good.
Gotcha. Wow. I've never. Yeah, that's like I guess for documenting like that, that's something you have to definitely make sure you don't fuck up.
Yeah, and the last shoot we just did in North Carolina, we had multiple 2-hour-long interviews with 2 cameras, and so I was going crazy with media management on that one.
Yeah.
I think I shot 8 cards of footage on that. So I had to make labels, and I was like, okay, this is A camera card 1, B camera card 1, A camera 2, and I was copying them over to 2 hard drives at the same time, and they were taking a while because they were not SSDs, they were regular hard drives.
Yeah, those do take quite a while.
Yeah, so it's just keeping everything straight, and I don't think I would have been able to do that without if I was just trying to drag and drop everything.
Yeah.
Individually.
I just find it again, this is maybe just because I don't have a lot of I have no DP experience, so just the fact that you kind of just, they're like, all right, we're doing this at this place this time, we're shooting interviews, and then you just gotta plan for that. And it's they're not really looking at it, they're just you gotta be here and you gotta look out for yourself.
It's a bit of a contradiction because I was just saying earlier about how I like to be super prepared for everything, and but there are a lot of shoots where it's just kind of, they just have to get done, and it's not necessarily about all of the the creative pre-production elements.
Yeah.
And those are the things I love doing the most. It's really exciting to get into something and start crafting a look and talking about all the intricacies of stuff, and that's kind of how it works on the feature side. And the narrative side, short films and so forth, music videos, all the other things. But for some of these things, just there's kind of more or less a standard interview style. That's kind of expected, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have done that 100 times. So
you gotta react to that. You just have to be all right, this is one of those. And this is how it's gonna be, and I can't really input too much into it, in terms of sorry, the pre-production in terms of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a larger project, and that's how some of these larger projects and stuff, like an ESPN documentary or the History Channel one, a lot of they're kind of expecting it to be a certain way, and I was not involved early enough in the process to influence any of that, which would be ideal. As a DP, that's kind of what you want. You want to be involved early in the process. You want to be in those conversations and stuff. But on this particular project, I wasn't involved early enough. So it was kind of just
But I feel that's the thing with DPs, your creative input and how you want the mood to look. You know what I mean?
You always find ways to do that though, even still. So in on those types of projects where you might not have a lot of creative input at the beginning, you find it in problem solving on set. You get to a set and it's oh well, we didn't know about this, this huge issue, or we didn't know that, we didn't have XYZ space, or whatever the problem ends up being, and then you kind of use your creativity to solve those problems.
I feel that's kind of what this all is, problem solving.
Yeah, it really
in
is.
A way. It's because you have a vision, right? But 9 times, not even 9, 9.99 times out of 10, it's not going to come out exactly how you envisioned it. Whether it's feature stuff, interview stuff, it's always going to turn out a little bit different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes down to what are someone said it's good to have limitations on set, because if you had no limits on set, like then you're like, oh, then I could do anything. Then you're like free out, like, oh, I could do anything. Like, which one should I pick?
100%.
When you're
Yeah.
forced into these, like, it's like almost like an intersection of different limitations
Mhm.
is what makes the creativity.
I love limitations.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, it's like you're in this box. Okay, now do something with it.
That's what creativity
And it's
is.
like, ooh, okay. Now I can start looking. I could do this with this. I can, I can
Yeah.
take this here. I can use this window light over here, to actually like light
Yeah.
my talent. I can, use these things. I love that.
It's
But I definitely get overwhelmed if it's like,
yeah.
whatever you'd like.
Exactly.
It's
It's
like-
like, all right, well,
But like, I'm trying to read a director's mind and like try to understand what their vision is.
yeah.
So if, I'm not being told a vision, it's kind
it's
of
hard
like,
to.
well, do I go left? Do I go right? Like,
Yeah.
what ballpark are we in?
Have you experienced that, and like how have you like kind of combated that by like just talking to the director a little bit? All right, like what's like, can I get a little more on like what you're kind of going for?
Oh, all the time. I think that's kind of something standard that I always try to do, in terms of that preparation. That we spoke about. Ask questions. I one of the biggest tips I think is don't assume things.
Gotcha.
Like if you go into a shoot as a DP assuming things are going to be a certain way, that can be a recipe for disaster, because if they're not, then everything gets thrown out of sync.
Yeah.
Whether that's assuming someone's going to be bringing the lights, assuming somebody wants something a certain way without asking them,
Yeah.
assuming like what settings people are expecting, and just going and shooting something without even like verifying that, and they're like, no, like we needed
Yeah.
slow
You're
motion,
like,
we didn't need
oh, I didn't know. I
you know.
assumed you did this.
yeah, or like you
no.
shoot everything in slow motion and you think it's all beautiful, and then they're like, nah, like this is all has to be like
Yeah.
real
just
speed.
regular. Yeah, I think that just applies to like any shoot, not even
Yeah.
like DP work. Anything you
Anything.
do, anything like you like someone hires you for, like you need to make sure like, all right, like, is this good? Like, do you want this? Like for example, like I'll like do like reels. I don't like doing Instagram reel shoots, but like I'll have like clients that like want to do like just like small like interview style things for like Instagram reels.
Yeah.
And after everything, I'll be like, put the headphones on, listen to it. Do you like this? Do you like how it looks? Like after every, like, I'm like, I want to make sure you like it because I don't want to be blamed for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume that like what I like is what you like. So
Right.
like, let's like get a little like review session and just look at it and be like, point on the screen, like, what do you want to choose? Because like I want it to be what you want it to be. You know what I mean? As much as it is like DP work is like, your creative input's value, but like you're serving the client of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
I don't personally feel like I connect with the attitude of like, going in there to do what you want as a DP necessarily. Like I think about it myself more like, I'm trying to pull a vision out of someone's mind, out of a director's mind, and get that on screen somehow, So in service of that, you kind of have to figure out what's in someone's mind. You
And
gotta,
that-
you gotta ask the questions. You gotta figure out, what it's for. What mediums it's going to be. Like, do you need this vertical? Do you need this horizontal? How long is it got to be? And that can help you know how much B-roll you need to get. Like,
And most importantly, like, what's the feeling?
what's the
What
feeling?
do you want it to feel like?
Mhm.
I feel like that's like the most, like, if you want it to feel intimate, do you want it to feel like really like perplexing and like you're confused and like,
Yeah.
like what do you want? Like, that's really what matters. Like, what's a feeling?
So I like using reference videos for that a lot. I'll ask people to send over something else that they like a lot, that they would like this project to also be kind of similar to.
Maybe like a clip of the movie or like a movie or something, or
Well,
what
if
would
it's
it
a
be?
movie, then a movie.
Like
If it's like
interviews.
some sort of other creative project, a commercial, whatever, then you kind of go, just send me something that is kind of in the style that you're looking for here,
Nice.
and then
nice.
I can start getting my head around it. And then with a couple of directors that I've worked with, another interesting thing is music. I find myself to be really inspired like by music in terms of like it creating like images in my head. So like I'll ask a director, And I did this for my last film that I shot, which is a 1940s period film. I asked the director to send a playlist of like movie soundtracks that she felt
Mm-hmm.
like communicated the feeling of the film. And so listening to those, you know, it somehow helps me understand like tempo, camera movement, you know, even sometimes blocking.
Almost like closing your eyes and just like listening to it, and like
Yeah.
what images pop up in your head.
Yeah, and it really vividly like makes my mind jump around to certain things, because like when I have the context of the story and the music, like those two things together, I find for me like it's a super inspirational.
Helps the creative
and-
process.
Yeah, and music I think communicates so much more than what you can just tell someone. Yeah, they can be like, oh, I want it to feel like sad, or I want it to feel, you know, suspenseful, and then this happens or that happens. But if you've got music, you know, there's a deeper level of understanding that you can kind of reach in terms of, okay, like exactly what kind of suspense and like what kind of sadness and
Because it's like, all right,
mood.
sad, but like what? Yeah, like you're saying, like there's levels to the music. Like, is it sad with a little bit of hopefulness in it, or is
Yeah.
it sad just like, all right, it's just like doom, like it's sad, or is it like a little bit of like, you know, a roller coaster type
Yeah.
of feel? And like that's cool. I actually that's like a unique perspective for sure.
Yeah, so that's something I do on narrative work, but
The promo work you do for movies, because that's like really cool. Like you are in rooms with like these crazy movie stars. You post, I see it on social media. It's like you've done Oppenheimer, Beetlejuice. You've done like all these crazy movies. Like, is that part of the same production? I don't assume so. They're the same production company, or is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the company that I got involved with because I had my FX9.
Wow.
Because they shoot all of their stuff on FX9s, and at the time they had like 4 FX9s, I think, and you know, oftentimes there are shoots where there's like 5, 6, 7 shooting rooms going all at once, and in a lot of these jobs, there's an A camera on the talent, there's a B camera, like a reverse angle on the
Yeah.
journalists that are coming into the room to interview them. And then sometimes there's also a C camera, which is a close up on the talent. So there's an A camera, a C camera next to each other,
Yeah.
both on the talent. And then on the opposite side of the room, there's a B camera,
And they all have to be FX9s.
and they're all FX9s.
Wow.
So
In every room.
In every room.
So that's got to be how many FX9s? Like 25? Something crazy like that.
I don't think we've had one where we've needed that many yet, but on a lot of them we've had like 10, 15.
And this is cut. So you got this through the FX9.
Yeah. So my first shoot with them was a shoot for National Geographic with Ben Stiller.
Okay.
And he did, I think Rob is his name, the guy who owns the production company, 7 Train Media. And he had just posted on Production Hub, I think, looking for someone, and that was one job that I just reached out and was like, hey, I've got an FX9 and I'm available.
Mm-hmm.
Like simple.
And just clicked.
Yeah. And I was like, here's my other interview work. Like,
shit, dude.
And then so he was like, okay, cool. Come out to this shoot like in 2 days. You don't need to bring anything, but you're gonna be like operating camera.
Mm-hmm.
So show up to the shoot, and it's like a studio, and we set up a couple of FX9s, and Ben Stiller comes in, and we do an interview with him, and I think it was with him interviewing the divers from the cave rescue in Thailand. I think it was. Nat Geo made like a recreation film about that.
Oh shit.
So it was Ben Stiller interviewing those divers, and this little segment was going to play in the movie theaters before the film. Kind of like one of those little pre-movie bumpers.
Yeah.
So that's what that was, and then it went well, and you know, he's been calling me back for a couple years now, and you know, I was doing a lot of camera operating with him at the time, which involved just kind of going to the shoot. Sometimes they would need my camera, so they would rent my camera as well. Not all the time. And I would just go, you know, camera operate, set up the cameras, you know, everything. They had like a whole like lighting team and everything. And then I would sit and just shoot in the rooms all day. And the way that those junkets operate is most of the interviews are like 5 minutes each. So the journalist will come in, sit in the chair, 5 minutes. Okay, you're out. Next person comes in.
And that then
Immediately,
the talent is there for like
the
how
talent's
long?
there for like 8 hours or 6 hours.
That's how many people come in there, like interviewing and stuff. It's all like different news outlets and all
Yeah,
this shit.
yeah.
Wow.
And so all of the interviews that come up, they were all shot on the same day usually, or at least sometimes they do a couple different promo days, but most of the junkets are all like one day, tons of interviews.
That must be very like overwhelming for the talent to just do like that. I feel like they loathe it. Like they don't want to be there.
Sometimes,
do you see that? Like, how
sometimes,
is it?
yeah.
How is the environment there? Like, cause you're like operating and making sure everything's good. Like,
Yeah.
how is it like being in the room with like those people? Like, it's cool, right? Like seeing
Yeah.
them and like you see them on the screen. And then you see
Yeah,
them in
it's
the
kind of
flesh.
odd because you're like, I feel like I know you, but I don't.
yeah.
No, but it's cool. Most everyone has been pretty cool to work with. There's not usually like a ton of like chatter. You don't really
Yeah.
like have conversations with
Mhm.
them, especially because the interviews are so like
Intense.
fast paced. It's like 5 minutes in, and as much time as it takes you to get up and walk to the door, someone's already walking in to sit down in the chair. 5 more minutes.
Wow.
Okay, you're up, in. And then now, because of COVID, we do a lot of them virtually through Zoom.
Mm.
So there's a combination of, in-person journalists and journalists that are on a Zoom call on a laptop.
Wow.
And so we go to the laptop, and then we go to the in-person, and we go to like laptop in-person.
Wow, that's fucking crazy. That's like, and I feel like the lighting for that is very standard, right? Because it's not like you're not like getting crazy with it. It's just kind of like
Not
light
getting
the
crazy.
talent and light the interviewer like
Yeah,
pretty
and
well.
usually there's a backdrop. Like there's a printed backdrop of whatever the film is, or sometimes it's like on a white
Yeah, it
or
would be
like a
like-
completely black background. But I worked with them for a while, and then I kind of worked my way up to DPing those.
Nice.
So now I'm kind of like the DP for most of the junkets.
So what
and,
are you running? Like what type of lights are you running for those?
We use a lot of Geminis, like the 2x1 Gemini light panels. With softboxes, we use a lot of Amaran 300Cs.
How many lights are in the room, you think?
It's kind of standard 3-point lighting.
Yeah. For both people, so it'd have to be 6 then.
Yeah,
lights.
so there's kind of key light, fill light, hair light on both sides.
Mhm.
Sometimes like we do groups of people, so it'll be like 2 tall directors' chairs and then 2 short ones in the front, so it's a 4 shot.
Yep.
And then I kind of light those like a little bit more cross key style with like 2 Geminis,
Kind of like
cross keying a little bit.
Mm.
And then we use either Nanlite 60Cs for hair lights, or the tubes, the Nanlite tubes.
Like these ones right here, or these are the RGB ones. There's a Pavo.
Pavo tubes, yeah.
Pavo
That's it.
tubes, yeah.
We use those with grids for like hair lights.
Those are amazing.
Mhm.
Those are such a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Because they're just so powerful, and they're like these freaking little like lightsabers.
But they do spill everywhere.
They
So
do.
we have to put the grids on them to use them as backlights.
They do spill like it's going up on the ceiling right
Yeah.
now. It's like everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just for what it is. Like it's clutch.
Mhm.
So
But
you're
yeah, it's great. It's pretty standard, I would say, but there's always a lot of intricacies with that, because celebrities and stuff especially expect to be to walk into a certain level of of lighting, so they want to feel taken care of, and how their image is presented, which is understandable.
yeah.
So I always kind of take precautions and try to think ahead as to like what someone might have an issue with, like
What would they have an issue like in particular? Like actually how they look with the lighting.
yeah.
So they check it like they like
Yeah,
you
so
make them look at it.
most celebrities and stuff will come in with like their manager and like a makeup artist and something, and they're always they'll go and look at the screen when the actor sits in, and they're kind of like, okay, that's a little bit shiny here, or the backlight is like too bright.
And then you got to fix it.
And then I kind of got to like work with them and see what we can do to make them happy. but also like not change everything
And also in a relatively tight
in
time
a
frame.
very tight time. You
Yeah,
know, it's like a
so-
2 to 3 minute time frame.
And you don't have a grip there?
We
It's
do.
just- oh,
We
you
do.
do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind
those we have full crew on. So usually we have like headsets and stuff too, so I can communicate with my crew, and I'll go and talk with the client or whoever, you know, like the manager or, you know, the representative, and just kind of see, like, I'm trying to nail down exactly what they're looking at, because oftentimes they won't be using like the same lighting terminology that we use.
Yeah, I get
So I try to have to see exactly what elements they're talking about, whether like if they're saying something's too bright, but it might just need more diffusion, and it's not the
Yeah.
brightness levels, or vice versa.
I've had in that case like a little bit different, more extreme, to be honest. Some people be like, "Oh, like they'll like say the lighting's not good, but it's not even the lighting. It's like they're talking about like the focus or something, or like the aperture."
And
And I'm like, "No, we just need to close the aperture a little. Like, are you saying it's too shallow? Like, what is?" They're like, "No, the lighting's not good." I'm like, "No, it has nothing to do with the lighting. Like, you have to like kind of go a step further and ask them what exactly
Yeah.
are you talking about
you
here."
have to go that extra step,
And they'll
or
be
else
like,
you're going to be like kind of running around changing things that don't need to be changed.
they'll be like, "No, it's the light." I'm like, "It's definitely not." If you just like ask those, and then you're like you say, you're changing levels on lights everywhere, and like they're like, "Oh no, it's not that." I'm like, "Well, then it's not the lighting, you know?"
Yeah. So it's just kind of like,
something
you know, like what can you point on the screen, like what exactly
Yes.
you're not liking? Like, are they shiny?
How do you
Or
fix
are they-
shiny?
Using larger light sources helps,
Because like I
but
assume
also
like it's
makeup
with the
artists,
makeup, right?
makeup helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But usually, like, you don't want to cake too much makeup on people, because then that's pretty visible too.
Reflective and stuff, right?
Well, it's kind of visible. Like, they don't have any shine then. Like, and skin naturally has a little bit of reflectance to it.
The oil.
Yeah, and which you want that, but not too much. You don't want to see like, you know, shiny skin,
Yeah.
but, you know, like a light sheen and stuff is good.
So then you're putting on a bigger like softbox on something.
I always try to go for like the biggest source that I can, you know. But one of the biggest kind of caveats on these shoots are that most of them are shot in very small spaces. So we don't have a lot of room, and we have to have like a very walkable space, because there's going to be like reps, there's going to be makeup artists, there's going to be journalists coming
So
in
you
and
gotta
out.
make sure like no one gets hurt. And
Yeah, so
trips.
all the cables have to be taped down.
Yeah.
You know, all the edges have to be taped down. There has to be a clear walking path to the space.
Yeah, definitely not here. But
So
so
you know,
then
this is two production people, so
exactly.
but it's a lot of that, those shoots is about the presentation and the result. It's not only the result.
It's a lot of film is like a lot about like how's the camera look, or how's the lights, like what is the
Yeah.
is this look official, like, you know what I mean?
Throw that matte box in there.
No matte box, man.
Yeah.
What the fuck? These cameras are so tiny. Where's the whole
Do
the
they
whole
even
rig?
shoot 4K?
Yeah, exactly. Like but you think about it, these little like Sony cameras on these they like they're so powerful.
Yeah,
right? But they don't look like much going on here.
So there's definitely an element of presentation and stuff to make sure that everyone feels comfortable.
So what's the
as well.
biggest box you got like for that?
I did one of the shoots with Nicole Kidman, and I used a Intelitech Mega, which is like a 3x5 foot
Oh shit!
like light mat.
Wow.
And I put two of those next to each other vertically to create this huge like 6 foot by 5 foot like.
Yeah. And it's nice and flattering on
like
the
nice, like soft but directional light, and you know, her team had nothing to say about the lighting.
Yeah.
They were just like, great.
Yeah. Well, that one, like you said, you do like some bigger groups too, like the Oppenheimer one with the giant freaking like dome in the middle. It was like director, a couple talent there.
Yeah.
How many people was it? There was like 6 people there.
There was like 6
on
people,
couches, like those, like that light source is like fucking huge, dude.
I think it was one of these actually. I think it was just.
It was exactly this one. They just blew it up.
It was a Lantern 90. I think this is the smaller one. I think.
Yes. That thing was huge, dude.
Yeah, it's a Lantern 90. I believe it was.
And you gotta put a powerful light in there. What were you using? Definitely not the 300, right? Or was it?
It might have only been at 300.
Really?
a 300 or a 600. I don't know. They had the lighting team from LA out on that one, so I was a little bit more focused on camera on that
Gotcha.
shoot.
And you're running like, if it was 6 people, you got to run like 7. You got to have a wide and then tight on everyone.
No, so that one we for the big round table type of shoot, we did like 1 master wide, and then I think we had 2 hunt cameras.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like,
back.
okay, who's talking,
Yeah.
go back and forth, just kind of operate back and forth, who's talking.
That must be so interesting, just
Mhm.
being in that room with all those people.
That was a crazy room to be in.
Yeah.
That was a really crazy room
What
to
it
be
was, it was
in.
Emily. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it was
say it.
Christopher Nolan, Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, and I think that was it. Maybe a journalist as well, I think.
It's fucking crazy. And you said Matt Damon went up to you tattoos and you guys talked, right?
Yeah, so like right up here on my arm, I've got kind of like a circle type of piece here, and then some lines that come down. And I was sitting behind the camera. This was in the actual smaller junket room when it was just him and Emily Blunt.
Gotcha.
So they were sitting over.
So this was after so was it like the same day you did the big thing with the group of people with
Yeah,
the lantern?
so that was kind of like a conference room downstairs that was set up in, and then upstairs were like
Is
a bunch of
the-
shooting rooms.
And this is like a hotel or what is
Yeah,
it?
like a
they do these
hotel.
in hotels. do
Hotels,
they?
yeah.
Wow.
So we were up in the shooting room, and they were basically sitting here where we are, and I was behind the camera over there.
Yeah.
And then Matt Damon was kind of like, it's like, oh, those are really cool tattoos. And then he
That's so
he
you're
got
like,
up.
Me?
I was like, oh yeah, like me back here in the dark, like you can, cool. And then he got up and he came around the camera to come and talk to me, and like he like pulled up his sleeve and was showing me his tattoo, and he was like, oh, it kind of looks like the one that I have here, and this and that. Like, where'd you get it? Who did that?
And you were
So
like,
I got
oh
to
my
name
God.
drop Sasha.
Damn, there you go.
That's
That's
so
so
that
sick.
was pretty fun.
That's so sick. How is it like just like talking to like I mean, he seems like a nice guy to begin
was
with.
super
Like,
nice,
He
yeah.
was just it's just but it's like feels like, yo, am I really talking to Matt Damon right now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's cool, and like I enjoy my job and what I get to do, but you also have to kind of compartmentalize a little bit, and you're not gonna be on set kind of like going crazy and being a fan.
Yeah, like, you
'Cause
gotta
that
be
just-
professional.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's we're all professionals here. Super cool to meet you.
Yeah, like set etiquette. It's like gotta be like set etiquette.
Oh,
It's
of
like,
course,
it's
yeah.
gotta be like,
Yeah.
just do your part and don't like make a scene.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still like really good. You also did like Beetlejuice stuff. And you did
Mhm.
Michael Keaton. You saw Michael Keaton, right?
yeah.
that's
So I
cool.
was like the full DP on that one, and that was probably one of the bigger promo shoots that I DP'd. That was, I think, 6 simultaneous shooting rooms.
Wow.
All linked to a control room, on 2 separate sides of a huge hotel. And they brought in like a whole ton of like they dressed the entire floor of the hotel to be like Beetlejuice theme,
Yeah.
with like the hallways and the
That's
tunnels
so
and like
sick.
props, and they brought in like all of those like shrunken head.
Yeah. I saw you had pictures with them.
Yeah, so they brought those in. They had like this huge holding room with like food and stuff for like all the journalists and people to come in. It was huge.
So they're in. So each. I assume you have to do it in a hotel, right? Because then you can use each room, right?
Yeah.
It's like an interview room, but like there's beds and shit there.
They
right?
take all the beds out.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
some hotels are kind of like junket hotels,
Oh, so
and
they
they
built
kind-
for this.
and they like take all the beds off the floor, and they have rooms and stuff. So
That's a big production. A lot of money involved with that.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
But that one was a big one, and yeah, it's really interesting. I think one of the interesting things is lighting each room for people that aren't there to light to. Like, you can't have them sit in and be like, okay, this is how you look. You have to have it lit perfectly for them to come sit down and start
And it's
rolling
just-
almost right away.
Yeah. That must be fucking difficult.
So that's another thing I think that comes with experience.
Well, could you use your grip there to like sit in?
Yeah, we do stuff like that.
And then, yeah,
but
make
like
sure.
it's that your grip's not going to look like Winona
Yeah,
Ryder.
like Emily Blunt comes in or something. Yeah. That's
Somehow it always looks better when the talent sits in.
Yeah. No, yeah. Oh, yeah. But no,
But-
that's like comes with experience, like you're saying. Like you just have to get the reps in, but then you have to know like this is my go-to thing, and like
Yeah.
this is how it's gonna look.
And you kind of, so you have to know all of those kind of things about like what your lights do and like the effect that they have. So you know like, oh, I'm gonna need to use a larger light source to have less shine, so it can be softer. You know, but then also you need to know talent specific things too, like you know like what are their skin tones, like what's their hair, like are they bald? Do they have like blonde hair? Do they have black hair?
And you have a list, or no?
Sometimes, you know, they'll give us a talent list sometimes, but a lot of Googling,
Yeah.
you know. And then, you know, if someone's going to be bald, you don't want to like use a hard backlight on them because then you get a lot of like of the reps asking you that it's too shiny.
Yeah.
So,
Just like emphasizing the bald, basically. So what
Yeah.
would you do for that?
So you kind of get ahead of that by lighting those rooms with a softer backlight.
Mm.
And then you can kind of avoid any of those things from even coming up.
Yeah, these are things I feel like people don't think about. Like
Mhm.
they're just like, how are they gonna actually react based on the talent? Because like people just like I used to just think like, you know, just light it and this is what it is. But like no, you have to think about it's like it's so much of a communicative thing. Like with
Yeah.
this stuff, like each person's different, so they're gonna have different problems you have to solve.
And you in that world too, you can't get defensive about it either. You know, like if you're like, oh well, this is like you don't like my lighting, this is my lighting. You know, like
Yeah, you gotta separate yourself.
it's you have to, you know, it's more of like a service industry kind of thing in that world, where you know you have to make sure that everyone else is comfortable with it, whilst you know still trying to go for you know the style that you're doing.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable. Oftentimes, you know, most times I'll put a bounce, like white bounce on the floor because it helps underlighting, and that's another thing that helps people to be more comfortable because they feel like, you know, that they're being looked out for.
Really? So in what does that? So the underlining will like just basically fill out. Like
It kind of like
the
fills in some of the
shadows.
shadows underneath too. Like a lot of times, you know, people aren't fond of having like harsh shadows under their
Mhm.
chin and stuff because you know there's certain elements that can look unflattering on occasion. So adding a bounce on the floor can just be a visual way, even if it's not doing a lot. It's a visual way to help people feel more comfortable and that you've taken that into consideration.
And that'll show up in the footage because they're more comfortable. Like
Yeah.
they'll be like you'll get better also
Mhm.
results.
And
like,
it helps things be quicker too on set. Like, you know, so because there's not really time to do a whole lot once the actual talents arrive.
Yeah.
So if all that stuff is in place, then there's less, you know, conversations that happen and we can just start rolling quicker.
It's all time. It's all like
It's all time.
Time
It's
conscious.
time, yeah.
Gotcha.
So the more prepped you can be for that kind of stuff and foresee potential conversation points, the quicker you can kind of get
It's like
rolling.
looking out for yourself almost. Like all right.
It's
Like
looking out for the whole shoot, you know. Time's
Yeah.
money,
yeah. True. No, you're absolutely right.
and so yeah.
So in your last podcast that you did, I don't even know how long ago was that was like
It's like middle of last year, I think.
middle of last year. Yeah. So you mentioned you went on with was he the director of South Shore?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that film a little bit because you harped on it in that podcast, and it was very interesting to me that like how you location scout, you do with it like an Insta360, and you record video of
Yeah.
the entire space because like you're working in a small boat,
Yeah.
right? How was it like, you know, working in such a freaking tight space?
Yeah, well, it was tight. But yeah, so I think I really like being able to kind of reference, you know, anything, like whatever we need to talk about with like a director or other crew members. I like to be able to reference stuff visually. And, you know, I'm not going to be taking photos of literally every single thing on set when I'm location scouting, especially because you're just kind of doing a walkthrough and you don't spend a ton of time. So I have an Insta360 camera that records literally everything in every direction, and you can look in any direction after the fact. So normally I'll kind of get to like a space that we're scouting and just kind of talk through things with, you know, the director real quick. You know, the person from the location will show us around. we'll discuss like, oh, okay, yeah, we can maybe block it this way, and we can look this way for this type of shot, and the wide shot could look this way towards, you know, the pretty windows, and, you know, whatever the context is. And then before we move on, I'll walk through all of the spaces that we discussed, recording on the Insta360, and so I'll do that for all the scouts we go on, and then I kind of put that together into one video and put it on YouTube and an unlisted link, and I send that to the director and to all of like the other key crew members.
And then you're able to.
And so on YouTube, yeah, you can either click and drag and look anywhere you want, or on your phone you can actually just pan and tilt it and move it around.
And then you're able to understand what lights can we use here, where's the power coming from, like all that stuff.
Yeah. So you can be like, I forgot to like see what the actual in-house lights were, you know, when we were there. So you just go to the video, and then, oh, there we go. Okay, they're over here, and they're over here. Okay, so we're going to have to turn those off, or we're going to have to replace the bulbs, or we're going to have to, you know.
So were you operating on that film? Do you like to operate when you DP?
Yes and no. You know, I think it depends on the complexity of it. I definitely like operating, but I'm not one of the DPs who is like, I have to operate every single shot or every single project, because you do lose a level of situational awareness when you're operating. You know, being completely aware of everything else, because you get so engrossed in your shot that, you know, maybe, you know, whatever else is going on. If there's multiple cameras being recorded, like, you don't know what the other camera's doing.
Yeah.
So I do like having, like, being able to sit back a little bit and kind of direct the photography, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's literally what it is, right? So, like, so when you're looking at, like, you're doing the location scout, I'm assuming you got the script and you're, like, looking through the script. How do you make that connection from, like, script to now, this is the lighting, this is the lenses, this is what I'm going to use? Like, you kind of get the vibe through the script. Are you taking notes? Like, what are you looking for in the script to make the decisions that a DP would make for the film?
Definitely, like, you know, you kind of get sent a script, you read the script once or twice, a couple times, and just try to get a sense of the emotions and the, you know, the story flow and all of those things. And then what I do is I just want to have a conversation with the director and kind of get as much information from them as possible. Like, what do they kind of envision for it? Like, are you thinking, like again, it could be anything. We could literally shoot this like super wide angle lenses all in close and like, you know, crazy distorted, or we could sit back on telephoto lenses and get like a more standoffish but like formal look, or we could do like what's the feeling, you know, how do you envision going about this? So at that point we'll have conversations and, you know, go on shot deck, lifesaver, put together a deck of kind of visual references, talk about camera moves. Is this like a handheld thing? Is this like a dolly? Is this a locked off tripod? Like, what do you feel best fits the emotion that you are trying to communicate? And it can kind of change throughout a film too. So you're like, in this scene, you know, this person is trapped. So we're not going to be doing like flowy camera movements or, you know, anything that might communicate movement, because the character is still and we want to feel still as an audience. So maybe that means locked off tripod shots. But, you know, I think the cinematic language is very variable. So you can kind of you can do whatever you want, really. So it's just a matter of getting what the director's vision is and how they intend to communicate those different feelings.
And I think that's what makes good films, right? Like, having that synergy between director and DP. Like, that's like, you can name some of the best films that are out. Like, it's because the director and DP work so closely.
Yeah.
And they oftentimes bring them back on projects because it's like, you have that synergy. You don't want to lose it. Like, for Dune, like, Denis Villeneuve, he used Greg Fraser, then he used Greg Fraser again. Like, it's a very, like, you know.
Yeah.
that's his guy. He nails it.
I think that's
So,
how
like,
careers are built in this industry.
Yeah, like
You know,
Nolan also uses that. What's his?
Hoyta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a duo for all these
Yeah.
directors and DPs.
Yeah.
I think you definitely need that because, like I said, going back to the whole theme of like the relationships and the communications, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely cool. So that film's out, right? That
Yeah.
South Shore. You can
I think they're still on the festival run with that.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure if it's like posted publicly anywhere yet. Yeah.
So you don't do much editing then, right? You're just mainly DPing. It's like when
Yeah.
you have the frames, like you post like frames from the stories or the actual like shots you've done on Instagram, like for like sample work. Like where are you getting those from? Because like I assume like the film South Shore, it's not like publicly out, right?
Yeah.
But there's frames from it. So like how are you kind of getting those samples to like use like for like portfolio work?
So one thing that I do, and I've done it for most of my narrative and music video projects, is that after every day of shooting, I'll go back to like my room or my apartment or wherever and pull stills from the footage from the day. And I find that's like a good way for me to wind down kind of at the end of a day. And I'll pull some stills and I'll like throw like a quick grade on them, whatever. And then I just love bringing them back in the morning and showing them to the director and like the department heads, so that everyone can kind of see what we got, and see what their work is resulting in. And I found that like set designers and directors and wardrobe, like they really like to be able to see all the stuff that they worked on, be like, oh, this is how it's being captured. And then that can even help them refine their approach throughout the rest of the shoot.
Also gets them excited, It's like,
Yeah, it gets everyone
this is what
excited,
we're
like,
working towards.
Yeah, this is what we're working towards. This is what we're capturing. And I find I've just loved doing that, and people have enjoyed that as well, I think. But that's one way I get a whole bunch of stills. And then for certain narrative projects, I try to keep as much of the footage as I can. And South Shore I ended up doing the grade for. So I had that really graded file as well.
Do you use DaVinci or do you use Premiere? That's like a big
DaVinci, yeah.
Thank God. Everyone is like, Premiere. I'm like, no,
well,
dude.
I was, when I have edited stuff, and I can edit, I just don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was using Premiere for the longest time. But now DaVinci is so good that you can't not use it for everything.
It's like,
and Premiere's color correction sucks.
It does, and like people are like,
look
nah,
right.
it's fine, dude.
It doesn't look right.
It's like Lightroom. It's like very linear.
Even like the white balance, it just doesn't look right. Like if you like try to like make something like cool something off a little bit, it's like but it looks cyan or it looks a little
like
weird.
Why do they do it like that? Like DaVinci's been out for a while now. Like aren't they gonna like step it up a little, like and try to be more of a competitor with that stuff? Because like DaVinci's like, yeah, grading, I'm doing DaVinci.
Yeah, I don't know.
I started on Premiere and I switched to DaVinci because it was kind of like, I feel like there was like, I don't know about you, but there's like a little bit of like a movement to DaVinci in like 2022 or like the early 2020s. Like everyone was pushing DaVinci. So I decided to switch, and now I can't do Premiere at all. I hate how rigid and like it feels. I don't know.
Yeah, I still think there's I don't know.
There's parts of Premiere that work.
There's parts of Premiere that work, but by now, Resolve is, in my opinion, much better. It wasn't for a while. Like it was kind of clunky for a while, and you couldn't like scale like your timeline right,
Really?
or like it was a little clunky on the editing side because they started as only a color program. But now, like
now it's got everything. Like I'm
and the new update too. You can finally have different timelines with different resolutions. They don't all have to be the same resolution.
Really, that wasn't a thing before. I mean, I don't know. Like that really wasn't like a thing that you could do. Like in terms of like,
or like sequences. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, like so in DaVinci, you kind of used to have like, if you had multiple sequences, they all had to be the same, because it was under a master project setting, and it's all the same frame rate and all of the same resolution. Wow. So if you tried to change your timeline resolution to go like vertical,
Yeah.
for like an Instagram
Everything
version
would
of
get
something,
changed.
it would shift. It would like actually change your other timelines, and the scaling would be kind of strained. Like it was scary. But now, just the DaVinci 19, I think.
It's great. I use it. I'm like editing a documentary right now, and it's like held up. Like I've all my timelines. Like it's got a lot of footage on it. It used to like crash a little, but like it's like good. Like
Yeah,
it's really a workhorse.
yeah. I'm just started kind of getting into Fusion a little bit.
I'm scared of Fusion. Because like no, there's some things though that I will say with Premiere, like the Premiere DaVinci debate. There are some things with Premiere that like you can do so much easier than in DaVinci. Like there's like different things. So like there's a lot of things that like in Premiere is like a simple effect. In Premiere it's an effect. In DaVinci you have to go into Fusion and like do all this shit just
The
for
biggest
like a
thing I
simple
don't like about DaVinci is the keyframing.
Yeah.
That still feels clunky to me, versus like how you were really quickly able to do that in Premiere.
Yeah, it's definitely a little weird. I don't like speed ramping in DaVinci.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Ultimately, that was probably just like I don't do it enough.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure people who like edit every day, all day with DaVinci are
little finesse.
wizards with it. So I mean, and
Yeah.
probably not agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that's cool about, well, not cool, but traveling with gear is something I guess I've been asked about a lot, because I've been all over the country, been to China, South Africa, France, all over with like traveling with equipment. And so like you just have to be aware of the airline rules and stuff with that. Checking bags, like you got to try to keep them under 50 pounds, all of your cases, or else you get an oversized fee. But one of the tips is that if you're starting to do more travel work, do your best to stick with one airline, because then you build up like the reward status. And so like, for example, I've flown most of my trips on Delta. So I have like a Delta medallion status. So I'll get free checked bags up to 70 pounds.
Wow. There you go.
So that can save you a ton of money.
Yeah.
In terms of that.
Well, when you're shooting, the travel rate's built into the fee, right? Like,
Yeah.
So like you're not actually paying for the flight, right?
No.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't pay for anything. Normally, like most like meal expenses are covered.
Yeah.
Travel expenses are covered, hotel, all this stuff. Normally, I guess you would just pay for like things that aren't like part of like a normal everyday thing. Like if you wanted to go out for drinks, that's on you. If you
just sneak it into the invoice. Yeah.
If the producer's like feeling up for it,
Yeah.
But that's not a decision for us to make here. But yeah, so and then normally also there's a travel rate as well, which can be anything, but it's normally for me been like half of my day rate.
And I think also
travel
like,
day.
isn't the gas thing like 67 cents a mile or something?
Yeah,
do you do
I think
that?
it's something like that for mileage when you drive. Yeah, I don't do that for local shoots like in the New York area.
Yeah, of course.
But
you just kind of like really build that into the rate, because it's like, or do you?
I mean, it kind of fits into the DP rate, know. But yeah, for like if I'm driving out of town, like I've driven to Boston for shoots, or Connecticut a lot of times, then you kind of do mileage for that.
Do you drive out here at all in Long Island?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a shoot out. I think it was on Shelter Island.
Oh shit, that's far.
So off the tip of Long Island, you got to take the car ferry.
Yeah.
To go out there. So I did a shoot for Dick Gregory out there, actually, the documentary.
Shit. Yeah, we've done some cool stuff out there. These like old G-Wagons that they restore. They wanted to do a shootout in Shelter Island, because it's like a pretty nice area, like in the summer. So yeah, that was cool. It looks like like not from New York, like out there. Like it looks like a little like.
It was cool. They were like, be really careful driving there, because you'll get pulled over for anything.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, it looks like a little like there's like a part of it that like it's kind of like a strip, and there's water on each side. It looks like a freaking like Pirates of the Caribbean like location. But yeah, Long Island, there's not many pretty places like in the bulk of Long Island. Like sort of when you go out east more, it gets a little more scenic and also like the beaches and stuff. But like I guess anywhere in like Nassau County, like here's nice because it's in like North Shore ish, but like the kind of like near where I go to school, Hofstra,
Yeah.
in like the Uniondale area, like, it's like just kind of like very congested, like not
Mm.
very picturesque. I haven't really traveled much, believe it or not. I've only been on like 4 flights.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm
Wow, okay.
21, so I'd like to go on more flights. Hopefully, as I do more of this stuff,
Oh yeah.
I could do more traveling. I've been to Florida. That's the farthest place I've been to.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I had a similar thing like when I was younger too. I think I remember telling somebody, I was like, yeah, I want to travel for work.
Yeah.
And then they were like, watch what you say.
Yeah.
And then literally the next year was like when I started working with this one particular company,
you were.
and they had shoots all over the country.
Yeah.
And so that's
How is that transition? Like, how is it? Is it like anxiety inducing? Like, what? How do you feel like doing all that traveling like by yourself?
a lot of it is with the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it would be harder if you're starting out doing it by yourself. I started out primarily traveling for work by traveling with people.
Yeah.
So we'd kind of all meet at the airport. And this particular company was one that I was shooting a lot with the FS7, and they owned all of that stuff. So they would pack everything up. They would pack the lights, the cameras, everything, and then I would just meet them at the airport.
Wow.
And then we would go fly somewhere and shoot something.
And you're just like they're literally paying for it, just you. That's great.
Yeah.
Like literally.
And I would always catch myself thinking, I was like, wow, I'm getting like, just because of my skills and what I've learned,
Yeah.
getting flown somewhere to go film something.
All started with teleporting people on iMovie. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
look at the arc.
So I think that experience really helped break me in to the whole travel thing, and now I kind of am able to, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of pretty frequent. So
yeah, to me it's like a big thing, like because I don't travel much, so I'm like,
yeah,
it's like a big, like a broad horizon thing. I'm like, I want to go to the West Coast. I want to see the world. Like I haven't even been to Cali, LA, or any of that stuff.
But for travel work, what I would say is get TSA pre-check.
Okay.
That'll help you get through security. Try to get whatever company you're working for to get you a media badge, because some of the airlines you got to like get this approved ahead of time. Some of them you could just have to show them at the check-in desk. But if you get a media badge, they'll charge you $50 per checked bag instead of like the exorbitant, like higher and higher fees per more bags.
Because like the assumption is like you're traveling for work.
Yeah.
So, it's like
so there's a
lower
media rate of $50 per bag, and that's also something that's reimbursed by whoever's paying you to travel.
Yeah. So
But
it
at
helps
the same,
everyone.
but I still try to
look out for them. And,
look out for them.
yeah,
Like there's no reason to be paying ridiculous bag fees of like $300 per flight.
And it can be a lot of gear too at times, right? So like you gotta shit adds up.
So the last documentary trip I took, I had 5 checked bags. I had my light case, my tripod and stand case, my big tall think tank bag, and then I think I checked my roller cart. But I took that too. I just folded it up and checked that.
Do you ever get worried about it getting damaged? That stuff?
Yeah. So you got to make sure you put something robust in there. You don't want to be checking like soft-sided cases and stuff as much as possible.
Like those aperture cases or like those.
I have like the aperture case for the 300D. I have checked that by itself, and it's gotten a little ripped up on the outside, but it's been okay.
Yeah, it is. It is like a for soft cases. It's pretty like hard. Hard.
Yeah, but I always try to go as robust as possible with that. And another thing I do is I always put air tags in every case, so that if it gets left somewhere,
God forbid,
you can find it. One trip we actually took, we had do you know those like hard-sided like tripod cases?
Yes.
They're like the octagon shaped round ones. The one we had was gray, and we left it on the curb at LaGuardia because it looked like the metal poles that go up and down the curb. Yeah. It looked exactly like one of those. So we left it standing on the thing, and we flew to like some other state to go shoot something. And we got there, and we were like, we don't have tripods or light stands.
No. So what did you do?
We went to Michael's, I think, and we bought a painting easel. And then I like hung the light off of the easel somehow. And then what did we do? We rigged something else up with like diffusion, and then I just handheld the interview, like the camera,
Talk about problem solving, like you said. You
Yeah.
know what all this goes to,
and it
So-
worked out great.
So did you just like assume you're just like, oh yeah, those things are gone. Like I lost those. Like,
No, we
they're-
got them back when
Oh,
we,
you got
when we
them
came back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the production company's stuff that time. So I didn't go get it myself, but when we got back, it was like in some lost and found, and then they couldn't find it. So I think someone from the company had to go back to the airport like 2 days later
That's crazy.
to go pick it up. But they got it back.
I hope
But
it wasn't your fault. Leaving
no,
it.
no.
Yeah.
It was. It
that's
just
funny.
was an accident. It
Yeah.
got left there.
That's funny though. I haven't ever heard of like you mistaked it for like a one of those.
Yeah.
One of
Most
those
of them are
things.
black. The cases, like
Yeah.
they kind of look like pelicans, but
No, they do.
this one was gray, and it just blended right into the curb.
Yeah. So I know in a lot of work you have a lot of haze, like or like a little bit of like a pro mist action going on. Like I maybe not all of your work, but like some of the things I see on your page, mainly like the creative stuff. It's like there's some haze. What filtration do you use for like that?
I've kind of gone back and forth like between some different things. I guess Pro Mist, like black Pro Mist, has
Yeah.
been a standard. Like I think I forget which strength I was using. Maybe like an 1/8.
Yeah, 1/8 is like what people like. I have the 4th. I think it's too much.
Yeah, the fourth is quite a bit. And then I think I used like a 1/2 for like a dream sequence once, and like that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But it works. It works.
You know what's good too though? I found the black satin one.
Yeah.
So not the black Promise. They have the sat, and I do the 1/4 on that, and it's got less like haze. It's got just more of like softening edges,
yeah.
and I like that more than the Promise
Yeah,
because
the
it's
Pro
less
Mist
subtle.
is a little too like on the nose in a lot of
Yeah.
circumstances.
Like it affects it's like everywhere, and
Mhm.
like whereas, and like it looks good. The skin tone's like nice and soft, but like. The black satin you can use like if you go outdoors with a Promise at at noon, it's like everything's like glowing.
Yeah.
So like I can't use it like with the satin. It's like more usable. Like
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, the satin's nice. I think I only own the Pro Mist, but I hardly ever use them.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the recent stuff that I've used has been haze, either
Yeah.
like renting a haze machine on set, or I think I also have the cans of Atmosphere aerosol.
Gotcha.
So it's like haze in a can, and you can just
Kind of dope.
haze
No
it up.
power. Just
Yeah,
freaking.
just haze it up. Doesn't last a long time, so you kind of go through cans if you're doing like a whole day.
Yeah.
Um,
But if you weigh out the cost, I mean, let's see which one is,
probably
more-
renting a hazer if you're doing like anything more than a couple hour shoot is probably better, because you got to be spraying that and then like fanning it out.
Yeah, it's
and,
like time and shit.
yeah. So just to have like a hazer that you can click on every once in a while.
Do you have a matte box? What do you use? Which matte box?
I have a matte box. I think it's Vodka.
I haven't heard of that brand.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, I guess, but yeah, just a pretty simple matte box with just drop-in filter slots.
Yeah, I
Um,
got the Tilto, the Mirage, I think
Mhm.
it's called. It's all right. I mean, it was like 400. I was like, all right, I'm not going any more expensive than that. Like for what I'm doing right now.
And it's pretty light too. It's like just like a light carbon fiber thing.
They got the Polar Pro one, which is a little more. It's like 600. Then they
Mhm.
have what is it called? Orange something tangerine or
orange,
something.
Orange tangerine.
Yeah, something. It's either orange or tangerine, but it's like stupidly
Tangerine,
expensive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
those are
1,000.
expensive. Bright tangerine.
Bright tangerine, yeah.
I think that's it.
Maybe. Check this right now. Hold on, bright tangerine. Let's see. Bright tangerine. Bright tangerine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're crazy. And
So-
for just
so,
such a
What matte box is it?
what matte box is it?
Well,
The
What-
the
what
bright.
brand?
It's this. Wait, this is only 200. Wait, hold on. Yeah, like this one. Bright tangerine.
Yeah, bright tangerine.
Misfit. Kick 360. Like the fuck.
Yeah.
$3,000, dude.
Yeah, that's not something that I would really invest in personally right now with my current cameras.
But it's like, what benefit does it have over just a fucking regular, like the side flags? Like, what is it?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you can get side flags for almost
exactly.
any matte box.
Exactly. So like, what's the? I don't see what the draw is to those things, but I guess they have to have something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they need to cost like $2,500, but
Everything in the camera industry can be marked down like 30%. Let's be real. You
yeah,
know,
we should-
like the tripods too. Like tripods are so unnecessarily expensive.
I mean, there is some more engineering that needs to go into those though, especially like the higher end ones, in terms of moving heavy camera
Large
rigs
setups.
very smoothly, and having the whole counterbalance and fluid heads and all that stuff. That's quite a bit more intricate.
Mm.
I'm not sure where I would actually value
Yeah.
that stuff, but definitely certain brands have some nice price markups.
They do. I mean, small rig's been great for like most stuff. I think like they're a good like mid range, like just like again for like me, I'm like
Yeah.
21. I'm not trying to like spend mad money right now.
Yeah,
I'm in
exactly. And
college.
it all scales too, with what you're doing. I've basically built my my kit and stuff just slowly over
just-
time.
yeah.
Buying some new bigger shoot will come up and I'll be like, oh, okay, for this one I'm gonna need this bigger thing, or I'm
And
gonna
then you
need to
either
buy
like
this.
you either like replace it or you like just keep both. Like for example, like a tripod. Like
Yeah.
you might sell that tripod and then get that one and then just
Mhm.
kind of
It's
upgrade.
it's not really. I don't see why someone should just buy the best things to start with.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you kind of scale with the jobs that you're
It's
working
also
on,
more rewarding.
and it's more rewarding.
It's very that's a whole fucking thing. Like the people buying shit like just because they feel like they have to. Like I
Yeah.
have a guy that has a Sony A1, and that's like a fucking great camera. And he's like he doesn't know how to use it though, like at all. I'm like, bro, like maybe you should just like learn it first before like thinking of it's a camera. Like I have to upgrade something. Like dude,
Yeah. Well, the other thing too that you want to be careful of is making sure that you can actually upgrade to the whole ecosystem of whatever it is that you're getting into. Because if you go out and you're like, I'm gonna buy an Alexa, but then you've got like a spindly little tripod,
yeah,
and you can't afford a bigger one.
yeah.
It's like you can't really afford the Alexa then, because you kind of need
And the lenses,
like,
right? Like
yeah, and the lenses.
actual like cine glass and whatever.
all those types of things. You buy an Alexa, but you can't, you don't have any cinema lenses to go with it, and you're putting,
Just
some kit lens
just
on there.
random lenses. So they have like E-mount adapters for those,
For what?
for like an Alexa. Like you
I
can't
don't
use
know,
those
actually.
lenses, right? Like those like for example like a G Master like on an Alexa, or does it work?
I'm sure you could.
But there's no autofocus, right? So
You're right.
it's
Yeah,
just like
that's one of the biggest things is with these cameras, the FX3 and the 9. The like the autofocus is actually usable, and I use that for like all my interviews, and it, eye tracking. People,
yeah, it doesn't like breathe in and out. Like sometimes
it doesn't hunt, like it doesn't
Yeah.
So I have it, on the eye tracking mode. And
Yeah.
people during interviews, like naturally leaning in and out,
And
back and
and it
forth,
gets it.
and like shifting over here and whatever. And if you're shooting with a shallow depth of field, like as soon as someone like leans forward a little bit, like
It's gone,
like the focus is now on their ears, and then
and then it comes back, and
so
it's good.
so either you're like pulling focus the entire time, or
That's hard to react to. I feel like if you're shooting on cine glass and you have like someone like leans forward quickly, it's like it's gonna be a moment where there's nothing in focus. Like you're gonna have to like there's a little human error there where like let's say you lean forward now, and then I'm like, all right, now I adjust. It's not like a live adjust.
yeah.
So I guess like you'd probably just cut that part out like of the interview, or you
hopefully
jump
cut to
a
a second camera or
yeah.
something like that. But that would be an ideal situation to have like someone who's actually pulling focus, and has
Yeah.
like their own monitor to kind of like live react to stuff. Because if I'm operating here and then I've got another B camera over there, and then someone leans forward and I'm shooting super shallow,
and
then you're
yeah,
like,
you got to
adjust
react,
this, and
and
then
then
is this one good? And then they lean back again. This one's out of focus, and
you're just running around
you
like
know.
a chicken with his
Yeah.
head cut off.
yeah. So you got to be careful not to put yourself in those kinds of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone like inspire your style? Like, what would you say your style is, and do you think any inspiration has gone into it, like that's crafted it?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know if I can necessarily speak to what my style is. Like, I know that I really, I mostly enjoy, I know that I really enjoy, like, shooting the darker, moodier kind of narrative stuff. Being able to really take away a lot of light from images and kind of craft,
Yeah.
like from that, and just with what light I am allowing into the shot. But I don't know. I kind of struggle to answer this question because I feel like I have a bit of a short memory in terms of inspiration.
Okay.
It's kind of, I kind of try to go into things with a blank slate a bit, you know, and kind of be inspired by things that are related to a project. And that's, I found that to be kind of a good way to go back and forth between styles of types of projects, you know, like narrative and documentary and stuff like that, because you have to shift gears into, you know, because they're different types of shoots. So I try to take inspiration from things that are related to the project and like the mood, like the decks and the, you know, the talks with the director and stuff like that, and then look for those things to grab onto to inspire me on that project and like what to keep in my head. But I definitely gravitate towards, you know, kind of that um, kind of that darker. I hate to say the word cinematic because that doesn't mean anything really.
Yeah.
But
Moody, like moody.
like the
You
mood,
the
like I
mood.
love creating mood and depth and you know, shadow and all of those things and however that might manifest.
So do you think there's anyone that like you, any DPs out there maybe that you like sort of gravitate towards and like that's like, oh, like yeah, that's like kind of like that same kind of wavelength as me?
Yeah, I like Bradford Young's work a lot. Greg Fraser obviously is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy how much that goes into that stuff. Like the movie literally would not be the same without that.
Yeah,
Like DP.
yeah.
It's
It's like
nuts.
watching like the Batman, like with your jaw on the floor.
Yeah,
You're
like every shot is fucking good, great.
yeah, Dune too. Like
There's only okay. I just have one gripe with Dune 2. It's a great movie, great shot. Like there's one shot that I just can't get out of my head. It's when Paul and Shani kiss for the first time and they're on the hills. And I'll like show it to you. And basically what happens is they kiss and then it's like this like I don't know if they use a drone or a crane, but it goes basically they're here and it
It's
moves
like
it
circling.
orbits, but it's like the camera's like when it starts to slow down, it's like
It
moving.
jerks a little
like
bid?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Mm.
And I can't. I'm like, how did this get let into the movie? Again, this
Is it
is
in the
like
trailer, or-
crazy nitpicking. I don't know. It's the scene's online, and it's funny because like you don't notice it at first.
Mm.
It's only like after watching it like a couple times, you're like, that shot is just. Look, this shot right here. Look at when it ends or when it starts slowing down. See how like yeah. I don't know. I know it's like very subtle, very very subtle, but I'm like, how did I get like just do another shot of that or something? Like maybe they didn't think they were gonna use like that full range of motion, and then they ended up doing it.
Yeah, and I mean that's another, I guess, a lesson that you could take from that is that you got to make sure what you give to the editor
It's good.
is good, because editors are not always going to cut for like a
Your
camera
thing.
movement.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to cut out of a shot that's telling a story that they want to stay on just for something like that. You know, even Scorsese's editor, she does like, she doesn't cut for continuity. She cuts for movement and flow and story first before worrying about continuity.
So you have to keep in mind, like you're saying, when you're actually shooting it, you have to keep in mind like those, like everything like is the same. You're saying like on set or like on the frame. What do you mean by what do you mean by continuity? Like the actual
like if I cut to you and your hands like this, and then we cut away and we cut back and then your hands like this.
So you have to keep in mind your hands got to be like this for each frame because the editor is not going to be able to like.
It's not that they won't be able to, but it's more like that's not as important as the storytelling.
And does that happen in films? Like,
Yeah,
you were able to like pick it apart and be like, "Yo, that's
all the time."
Yeah.
Like watch Wolf of Wall Street. Like there's so many continuity errors in that. But the editor knows about it. But it's not like if you cut everything based off of that, then you know the story suffers, or like the momentum and the energy of the film suffers. So it's less like that's a less important element. So it's just something that you just know that you have to be on your game as much as possible on set because, you know,
But it's almost like the editing, the energy of the story, kind of like you overlook it because you're so engrossed in the
yeah,
story is anyways.
it's
So
not
it's
something
like,
that takes you out of the film.
yeah,
It's just something that, you know, if they had cut strictly for the continuity or for, you know, something like that, then
the
you don't
story is,
get the full emotion of that scene.
which is more important.
Maybe, you know, which is more important.
Yeah.
And that's why I would assume that they left it in there is because they just needed to stay on that shot longer. They didn't want to leave that moment too soon.
That makes sense. Gotcha. Wow. This is a random question. I'm like, again, this is like the nature of the conversation, but you mentioned film cameras. How do they like do the thing where like because like Oppenheimer's shot in film, right?
Yeah.
But then they have a digital IMAX version of it, right?
Mhm.
That they use for like theaters and like online. Like what?
And
how do
film
you,
IMAX too, but yeah.
yeah, like how do you do that? How do you get the film roll like into a digital? Have you done that before? Like where you digitize film?
Yeah, it's just a scanner.
So you lay it out on
It's not like a flatbed scanner. It's like a reel that pulls the film through and scans each frame.
and that's got to
It's
be
kind of like
rolls.
specialized stuff.
It's got to be rolls and rolls of like how does it? I just don't understand how it like. Is there no loss of information through it, or there is?
When you scan
when you
stuff,
when you digitize film, yeah, like do you lose some info that the film had?
it depends on the quality of the scan. If you do like a super high res scan, then you're not really losing anything. But film has like such a high resolution; it doesn't actually have like a technical resolution because it's film.
It's been physical.
But I think it's like I forget exactly what they equated it to, but it's a very high resolution. So you're still getting stuff out if you do like a 4K and 8K scan of film.
That's crazy.
There's a
like,
lot of information to be had there.
It's crazy how it works in general, like the whole
Mhm.
like film thing, like because I'm only been exposed to you've done more film stuff than I've only been exposed to like digital ways of doing it,
Yeah.
and like it's crazy that like you're able to like imprint an image onto like that's fucking I don't even
Well,
understand.
I do like the 35 mil photography stuff that you referenced. I also developed that myself. At my
Like a
apartment.
dark room, basically.
You don't actually need a dark room to develop the film. The only thing that needs to happen in darkness is the film coming out of its roll and into the development tank, which is just like a little handheld tank.
And it's like airtight. That's like the purpose
It's
of it.
light tight.
So, okay.
So you have a dark bag that you put your hands in. It's basically like a reverse hoodie. You know, it's
Okay.
like a hoodie without the hood.
Okay.
And you put your hands in it, and then you zip it shut on the other side, and it's black and it's completely dark inside. And you have to, by feel, pull the film out of the roll and wind it onto like the reel, like a little plastic reel.
So you'll fuck it up if you touch it and shit. Like wherever
No,
it gets
you touch it.
exposed to light.
If it's exposed to light, then you mess it up. Yeah.
Wow.
But
That's interesting.
so you just roll it onto the reel, like this little plastic reel, inside the bag, and then you put the reel in the canister. That's also already inside the bag.
Yeah.
And then you put the lid on, and then you can take it out.
Wow.
And once you take it out, you can pour the development chemistry in and out without letting any light in.
Got
Because
it.
it's like a tube that goes to the bottom of it.
It's like a solution?
Yeah, so you have to pour developer in, develop the film. The way I do it is kind of like 3.5 minutes in the canister with the developer. Then you like turn it over every like 30 seconds, very gently, just to kind of refresh the chemicals that are in contact with the film.
So what is the chemicals actually doing to it? Like when it's contact, it's like what is it doing?
I'm not sure I can explain it like the most technically, but basically it's getting the light that's captured on the film is I don't know, maybe we don't put this part in.
Yeah, that's
I don't know if
fine.
it's this part.
I'm like just genuinely curious. We could
Yeah.
talk after.
But I mean, basically, there's like silver crystals on the film, and the chemistry like solidifies them in place, and then you pour the developer out back into the container, and you put bleach in, like it's a special kind of bleach fix type thing that like freezes all of the stuff in place and prevents any further chemical reactions from taking place.
I feel like it's such a more involved process, and it makes it more like engaging, like to be
because you're
shooting
like
on
literally
film.
creating an image.
Yeah, it's not like snap picture preview. Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna edit this in Lightroom. Like, and it's also like you bake in the look, right? Is it
So
like
kinda, and then when you scan it, you can scan it in different ways. You can kind of scan it almost into like a log type of profile that you can then kind of adjust, or
That's crazy.
you
How
can
does it
scan it
fuck-
into like a Rec 709 kind of thing.
I gotta look into this, dude. Like, I don't understand. It just doesn't make the scanning part. It's just I'm missing it right now. Like,
The,
it just,
the weird part is that it's all pretty variable. So it's kind of like what are you truly getting on this film, because you can scan it in so many different ways,
yeah,
and then what do you adjust it to
got it.
to get like the pure raw image from the film, and you really can't,
Never, right?
so that's like an element that introduces variations.
Unless you have like, I know Oppenheimer, like Lincoln Square, they have the actual like
Yeah, so-
roll there. So that's literally what they shot on, and they replicated that copy. Like, what did they do for that?
Yeah. So like film labs will have. I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine they scan the film into some sort of flatter log type profile, which is then color graded, like a normal film,
Got it. And then back to film.
and then they can print it back to film for like for the film releases, and then export to digital files for the digital
And
showings.
so putting it into digital to grade it, and then putting it back to film, you're losing, right? A little bit. 'Cause
Ultimately, probably some.
Yeah,
but
but like it's still
it should be
film.
like more or less lossless. Like
Yeah.
it's not something that you're going to notice. It's just like if you're trying to pull the same level of detail, like if you're trying to push it around in a grade after the fact, after you've done all those things, you're not going to be able to get the same detail
Yeah,
than
back.
you would from the original.
Fucking great. Yeah, I've always wondered like how they color grade like film if like it's film.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it used to just be developing it in different like ways, like color timing and stuff like that.
yeah.
But
now it's down to now people
you
like
would change
want,
like the color of the light that's used to print it.
and it'll like come up like you'll use like blue.
Yeah, so
It'll
it's
come
like
up blue.
RGB, like, and you can like change your printer lights
Shit.
to like different hues and different like levels of.
But isn't this process is just much more expensive to do for even like a movie? So like it's kind of more of like a choice that like you got to be ready. Like, all right, if you're gonna shoot this in film, like it's gonna the budget's gonna be more. It's gonna be inflated by that.
I think it depends too. Like once you reach a certain level, like obviously like super indie short films and stuff are not going to be able to afford that. But
Yeah.
once you're at a certain level of production, I don't think it's that much more expensive to shoot on film, as long as you're not like shooting a reality show and you're like shooting like 1 million hours of footage.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is buy the film, and then get it developed and scanned, and then that's basically it. But sometimes what people do to kind of have the whole film thing, but not as much of the expenses, is shoot the whole movie digital, and then print it on film, and then scan it back to get some of the film qualities.
That's crazy. That's just crazy to me.
So then you only use as much film as your actual movie. Then you only use as much film as your actual movie length.
That's
So you're not shooting like 10 takes of this thing and 5 takes of this thing.
Yeah.
All on film.
Yeah.
You're just shooting your actual movie.
Because then you don't have a lot of takes really.
Well,
to do
it's
if you-
literally your edited film. You take that file that you've edited. This is my final film.
Yeah, and then
Print this to film, and that's an hour and a half of film, and
instead
that's
of
it.
having a bunch of fucking film to deal with, and then
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but I think Oppenheimer, did they shoot that on film like there?
Yeah.
Wow. But like, how do you?
But with Dune, they did the other process. Dune
Got
2, I think they shot on the Alexa 65, I believe, and then printed it to film for like the IMAX release at Lincoln Center.
But that's crazy to me because like, then it's like, is there a whole new like way to now expose when you're shooting on film? Like if you're shooting on film there on site, like you're looking through the viewfinder, you're not looking at a digital freaking viewfinder. You're looking at a digital display. It's like you're just seeing through the glass, right? And you have to like what meters do you? I'm just like, how is that built out?
Well, it'd be a combo of actual using a light meter, to like measure your key and your fill and everything else. And the spot meter, you can kind of spot in on certain um, like that particular element. I'm just checking to see that that's not too overexposed or too bright.
And then what do you check in the camera?
Certain like the newer film cameras have an actual digital port out, so you can connect an SDI to a monitor. I haven't used like the 35 mil ones though, so I'm not sure if they are actually exposure accurate or not. But
That's crazy.
yeah,
That's fucking nuts. I gotta get my hands on a film camera. Even like just the photos, I
Yeah.
think look sick. Like the ones of Sasha, like they look so like it's just like different. I don't know what it is. Like it just look like not digital. I
yeah,
don't know. It's
and,
like this
and that's why people
weird-
like it so much.
It's just like uncanny valley type thing. You don't know exactly. Like it looks like real, but not at the same time. It looks like it looks surreal almost.
it feels like something versus just existing.
Yeah, like it feels like that's like the moment. I don't know. It's such a
Yeah.
crazy thing.
No, you should totally do that. Like, pick up a cheap film camera on eBay.
Do you have any recommendations that I should go for? Or?
The one that I have is a Canon Rebel G. I got it for like $50 on YouTube.
So they're pretty cheap.
You can go up or down. Like,
Yeah,
there's super expensive ones, then there's cheap ones.
and then obviously the quality of the roll would matter,
Yeah, like
right?
it doesn't matter because you're not talking about a digital sensor. Like that doesn't matter what camera you shoot the film with. It just matters what film you have and what lens you're looking through.
And are those film cameras interchangeable lens, or they have like a
It's
built-in?
yeah, the one I have is interchangeable. It's like all Canon EF mount.
Is it a bitch to load in the film, or you kind of get it? It's like pretty streamlined.
It's that one is automatic. So you just like pop the roll in, pull the film out across the back of it, and hook it into the sprocket holder on the other side, and then close the back, and it winds it all out. And then as you take a shot, it will wind it back one photo at a time into
Got
the
it.
canister.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing I have, one of those is the little Fujifilm disposable cameras.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, those like little like fuck around cameras.
Some of the older film cameras though, you actually have to wind back yourself. So you take a photo and then you wind it one frame, and then you take a photo and then you wind it
And
one
then
frame.
what if you forget?
It won't take a photo.
It'll just
Um,
Cool. That's
but
fucking awesome.
yeah, the one I have, it's got like a digital meter in it, in like the eyepiece, like like the +3, -3 meter. It's got that in the viewfinder, so I can just kind of gauge where my exposure is.
That's like
Take
something I
photos,
gotta
yeah.
get into.
It's great, yeah.
What do you think? What is your like end goal? Like where do you want to be? I guess in all this, what are you working towards?
I've been like really intrigued by like big screen filmmaking, so I really would like to see my work like on like an IMAX screen or something like that, because I feel like there's kind of a little bit of a difference in the filmmaking style if your work's going to go on like an IMAX screen, because you're probably not doing as much like panning around or like quick movements and stuff, like Oppenheimer, right? Like things are a little bit more center framed,
Yeah.
a little bit slower camera movement, because you don't want people to be like get dizzy, like having to look over here and then look over there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's slightly different considerations for that. So I think that's extremely intriguing, and I would like to kind of get into that a bit. But ultimately, yeah, I'd just like to one of my goals is shooting like a streaming original series or something like that, like a Netflix or a Hulu type, like Severance, something like that. Yeah, that's probably what I'm
Your
aiming
angle.
for. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
want to get to. Big screen films,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like it's definitely an intriguing goal. It's definitely one of my goals too. Like to just show like, I feel like it's a different, and like an audience watching it too.
Yeah.
In a theater, and like they paid to go see it.
Because like look at the world and the atmosphere and the feeling that's created by like seeing a film like Dune in theaters versus at home.
It's completely different.
It's you're getting so immersed in this massive epic world building kind of thing. And I think I like the experience that brings, like the feeling. And I don't know, I've always been interested in, I think, larger scale conceptual things like that versus, you know, like stories like Dune, like how it's such a big and
Yeah.
like all encompassing story, but it still at the same time with these huge elements speaks to small intrinsic things like love and, you know, the need for power and
Yeah.
you know, it communicates all these things, but it's like on such a huge
Leadership.
scale.
Yeah.
You know, so I like those, you know, juxtapositions.
Yeah.
And you know, I want to get into creating that.
What has been like, because criticism's oftentimes very important with work sometimes, and do you think, what has been like the piece of criticism that you've received personally with your work, whether it's from someone or maybe just something that you found in your own work that's helped you the most with your career?
That's a really good one. I don't know. I think maybe like a self criticism is that, you know, on occasion you can when things are a little bit standard or like a little bit, you know, like this is like the usual or something, you can kind of get a little complacent, and not be fully present in with those types of things. And so I think that's something that maybe I've experienced in the past and have not liked that I felt that way. And then so I've got to like consciously be like, whoa, like that's not why, you know, I kind of am doing this. Like I'm doing this because you know, I really love this job and I want to create something, you know, like awesome no matter what the scale is.
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of noticing that mindset and making sure to keep that away.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think sometimes we can get caught up in like the same and the same and the same and like kind of detach a little bit
Yeah.
from it. So
But there's always, like, no matter what it is, like there's always an opportunity to get better at something
yeah.
or to learn something new. Like even with the shoots that, you know, aren't maybe the most creatively exciting, you can still be, you know, learning things or like trying something a little different with lighting or, you know, trying to improve your efficiency on set or trying to improve the on-set experience for the people you're working with. Just little things that will just subtly improve, you know, your work as a DP, or as any position really. But yeah, I don't know. There's always something you can kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like even the promo content, the press content. You know, sometimes like it can get a little bit standard and it's not super creative. It's you know, we have to do this same thing in all of these rooms. You know, so it's not the most creative all the time, but I look at it like this is invaluable experience on how to run a larger crew, you know, how to work with all these people and how to communicate exactly what we need to do in an efficient manner. It's a great lesson in how to collaborate with, you know, like talent representatives and how to make sure everyone's happy and feeling good and wanting to work there and feeling comfortable to work there. In all kinds of things like that.
Nice. Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? What's your 5-year like little plan?
5-year plan's probably pretty similar to, you know, what we were just talking about. But I would like to think it's within 5 years I could maybe get on a streaming original show. Maybe be in the union by that point. So that's not something I'm rushing, the union thing.
So that's like something you have to like apply for and get into, or how does that work?
More or less, yeah. It's you either need 100 days of like DP work within a 3-year period with call sheets and pay stubs, and you can use that and you can get in.
100, you said hours or
days?
Days.
100 days within 3 years.
Got it.
Or you can get like 30 days of union work and get in. So if I had a director hire me on a union shoot, I could just get in if it was as long as it was a 30-day shoot, I could just do the project and join at the same time.
Got it. So what are the benefits to joining like something like that?
All of those biggest projects are union shoots, organized shoots. Usually it's like over like $2 million, $2.5 million like projects. So like all the TV shows, all like the bigger films, and pretty much any like widely distributed film was probably made under a union contract. So it's kind of something that if you want to work at the highest levels, you have to join eventually. But it's not something that you necessarily want to rush, because the union doesn't get you jobs.
Got
It just allows you to like access and work on the higher jobs.
It's like a card. You're like, oh, I'm in the union. I can work on this job. Basically.
Yeah, it's like I'm a union member and now I'm able to work on this job, but it's not something that gets you the work. You still have to do the networking and know the people that want to bring you on.
So you almost think like you can even get to that point just by like networking and like getting more hours and through getting more shoots through networking. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like kind of goes back to the
So like one of the directors I work with just did like a higher budget union film and stuff. So he ended up going with like a very experienced DP who was in the union. But if I had been able to do that shoot, I would have been able to get into the union strictly from being hired on that job.
Yeah. Got it. Cool. I didn't know the union was like an important thing. I gotta.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not something you want to rush, because it costs a lot of money to join. Like
it does.
You have to pay dues.
Oh shit.
That's not just like you have to pay dues, and it's pretty expensive.
Really? What the fuck, dude?
But you join.
I don't understand. Like what? So it's like you get access to the jobs, right? That's like the benefit, and the dues are like what you pay for the benefit.
It's like a whole organization of like film workers, basically. So the union like negotiates base salaries for you. So like you won't be able to work on a union film that pays less than what they set as their base salary per role. So it helps you like get fair wages. You can get health insurance through the union. If you work as like enough hours in the year, you get like a health plan through them. So that's amazing for like freelance film workers.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff like that. They make sure that the sets you're working on are safe and that you're not being taken advantage of. There's rules about like safety and stunts and, reporting any sort of harassment and they'll actually come to set. They'll send a representative if they need to check on the production, like all that kind of stuff. So they do a lot of things, but you have to pay dues to join and like a pretty big initiation fee.
Yeah.
So
how big is it, do you know?
Offhand, I think joining as a camera operator is like $13,000
to get in, like
just to join, and then there's quarterly dues.
What the fuck? And these dues are going towards just like people running the, I guess, organization, like keeping it afloat.
That plus all of like the health insurance and all the things that they do.
Fuck, dude. 13,000.
If you're working on union shows, like electricians are making like $600-$700 a day.
Yeah.
So
of your camera op,
Yeah, then you're making probably like 12-15.
Yeah, a day.
Yeah.
And then
you get on a show that's like a 5-month show.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. That's very solid.
Yeah.
That's cool. If you can go back to your younger self when you first started and you had 30 seconds to tell your younger self something, what would it be pertaining to like this industry?
I think it would just be to really trust the process. It's been such like a methodical journey for me that, I might have been looking for like, this is my like made it like, whoa type, moment. But it's been like a very methodical, like stepping up the stairs, meeting these people, slowly working on bigger jobs, slowly, and then meeting someone, and then just next bigger job, getting more trust, more experience, and just kind of being able to handle each increasing step because of all of the preparation of not jumping too far ahead, and all of the work that I've done up to that point, making me feel comfortable to work on something that's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So just being patient and trusting the process.
Nice. I agree. I it's definitely like, it's also like not a road that you can just like see the next year, even like what's in store.
It's so hard to see forward.
Yeah.
I think that's like an issue that I've run into a lot myself. Even now, like it's hard to like, okay, where do I go from here? What if that call never comes again?
Yeah.
Like
What do you do?
What do we do? But it always has been. So
Yeah.
just gotta, I guess, trust that, and 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 keep up with your friends, because they're the ones, they're giving you jobs, you give them jobs, like you kind of all grow together. So I think having that network built around you of like peers, you don't always need like that one like massive connection, like Hollywood connection, to pull you somewhere. If you grow with your peers, and then everyone starts slowly getting their own connections.
Yeah, and then it's like
right?
even more.
And then like, okay, so and so now just got a call to direct this thing. Who are they going to call to DP it?
Yeah.
Hopefully you.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. So, all growing together is a really amazing thing to actually see it after so many years of like being like, what's happening? What are we doing? We're just like messing around. And then you look back and you're like, oh wow, we're all kind of like in these cool places actually right now. We're like, I'm working at this studio right now, and like I'm so and so's on the road, and like I'm doing this, and it's like, wow,
cool.
we came a long way.
Yeah. Do you think you could pinpoint like a mistake you made that you wish you didn't make, or that made you like learn something about this over the years?
So one thing I would say is probably certain instances of like not looking out for myself, like on productions, like not getting enough sleep, not like eating enough, not drinking enough, just like the little things like that. If you like putting too much focus into something, and then it's just completely draining you, like that's not a sustainable way to operate. So I definitely have done that on occasion, and then I just feel like completely wiped out afterwards, and burnt out, maybe like creatively, whatever, because you're kind of putting way too much in, when like sometimes you have to just pull back a little bit and like make sure that you set some boundaries with work, and not let it be completely all encompassing, because you can run right into the ground that way. On a lighter note, accepting a job from Craigslist once when I was in college.
Wow.
And it was like super early shoot. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wasn't prepared for anything. I would just kind of like show up.
What was the job? What did it say?
It was a music video. So I was going to shoot a music video. And I didn't really do too much research. I didn't like know to have conversations ahead of time, and I don't think anyone else involved did either. So I kind of showed up at this building in Manhattan, and they got rooftop access. And so I went in and like met the artist, and they were getting all like dressed up and like in whatever their costume was. And so I was like, okay, like, hi, introduce, like, and then so whatever that conversation was, we go up to the roof. No one brought anything to play the music on for the music video. So it was just, we're going to have to film things. And then he just like does some sort of like high step dance move across like the rooftop. And then it's like, did you get that? Like completely serious.
Yeah.
I was like, we just walked up here to like figure, like, did I get that? What are you talking about? Like, and he thought I was like recording. Yeah. Already.
And then you were like, what happened?
I was like, okay, what are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
like let's figure this out. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
so it was just a very odd day,
Yeah.
very odd day, and we didn't have any context for the music for the song that this was for, because no one brought like the radio or like a speaker
Yeah.
to play it on, and so we were just shooting completely random footage. I had no idea what I was doing, like in terms of like shooting and also in terms of like what the project was, and it was like a complete disaster of a day.
Did you get paid at least?
No, I don't even think I got paid.
Damn.
So that was definitely a good lesson in kind of knowing what you're getting yourself into
Yeah.
and asking the proper questions ahead of time.
Wow. That must have been. Is that like? Were you still like new to music videos at the time?
That was
too?
like the first ever.
Oh, that was the first
yeah,
ever.
Yeah, I was like sophomore in college or something. I
And
was like,
which camera did you bring?
I think it was my Canon T2i, which I had at the time before I had my GH5 or the Blackmagic production camera.
And were you rocking a gimbal with that, or it was just handheld?
No, I think that was before the handheld gimbals came out.
Really? Wow, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
might
feel like
be dating myself a little
I feel
bit.
like a baby. I feel like I'm like back in the day when
Yeah.
there weren't any gimbals.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe like the earliest version of like the full size Ronin was out or something at the time, but I didn't have it.
Like no Ronin S.
No,
Like I had the
none
Ronin
of that.
S.
None of that. Yeah.
I started on the Ronin S, and then I moved to the RS3 Pro. But
Yeah.
the S is great. It's
Yeah.
just like the locking motors. You can't lock them.
Yeah.
So like when
I
you're
had
trying to-
both of those. I have the RS3 Pro now, and I had the S.
Great.
The S was fine, but it was heavy and it didn't
Yeah.
have the locks.
Yeah, and like you're transporting it.
Yeah,
around.
it's like banging around and like trying
I
to get
actually-
in a car with it. Like,
I put like bungees around them so they would stay like. So the axes, when I'm like just throwing it in the car, like they
Mhm.
would stay shut
yeah.
and not be banging against each other.
Yeah.
Like, ding ding. I'm
The
like,
auto lock on that is like lifesaver.
I know, and you could like you pause the motors and travel. Like it's not like trying to like, stabilize when you're like walking somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so much better in the hand, and then you could just ding, and then
Yeah.
it goes like a fucking Iron Man fucking suit.
I don't quite like how it feels, but I'll have my FX3 on it a lot, and I'll just use the top handle with the motors lock and just like carry it around
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Like the top handle's a little flimsy, but hasn't
Yeah.
broken yet. So
Yeah, this fucking top hand looks crazy. So where can we find you on socials? Want to just say your
socials. Yeah, I just mostly I just use my Instagram, which is Derek Mindler Cine on Instagram, and I've got a YouTube channel, but I don't really post anything on there at this point. So Instagram's probably the most
reachable.
most reachable, definitely the most reachable. And then my website is derekmindler.com, and that's where I've got most of my work, bunch of links, contact information.
Nice. And last question for everyone. Do you have a passion project that you've like? You don't have to say all the details, but like, is there something that you just been wanting to create and like you just either you pulled the trigger on it already, or you're kind of still on the planning phases, or maybe if you don't have anything at all, what do you have any passion project?
Yeah, something that I've been thinking about for a long time is doing a documentary on lucid dreaming.
Okay.
And do you know what that is?
Yeah, isn't it like when you're aware in your dreams, basically?
Yeah, basically you're asleep and dreaming, but you know that you're asleep and dreaming.
Do you have that happen to you?
I've had it like once or twice, but I just find it extremely fascinating
Yeah.
because I've heard a story of a doctor who has been using that for therapeutic reasons, like to help people, like almost heal their subconscious through their controlled dreaming. Which,
So there's an art to it. You can get better at lucid dreaming,
Yeah.
you're saying?
yeah, you can practice it.
How
It's
the fuck do you practice that, dude? What do you mean?
yeah.
How do you practice that?
From the little bit I've read about it, basically you start a dream journal, and you start to write down every single dream that you do have, and it starts helping you recall and be more aware of your dreams in general. And the more focus you put on that, the more it kind of just becomes a thing in your mind. And then before you go to bed, you kind of that's just something that you try to bring to the forefront of your mind that you're going to lucid dream tonight. That sounds a little hokey, but it apparently works pretty well for people.
Yeah. And there's a benefit to it, you're saying, like, and subconsciously, like, it helps you, like, kind of mentally, like, lucid dreaming.
I don't think it does on its own, but I find it to be an interesting thought that it can be used that way.
Yeah.
In a controlled manner, like in your dreaming being brought to thoughts about, some trauma that's happened or anything like that. You could actually, like, how like characters, like people appear to you in dreams and you can kind of talk to someone or have an interaction with someone. It's all dreaming and it's not real, but that doesn't mean it can't influence your subconscious.
Some deep shit, dude. That'd be a sick documentary though. I feel like that would definitely get a lot of people on.
So, I've always loved the movie Inception.
Yeah.
So those two things combined has just been a very fascinating thing to me. So that's pretty much all I would want to say about it. But
yeah, of course. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fucking awesome. I appreciate you coming out here after the snow.
Yeah.
And making this happen.
Absolutely.
This is like a 6-month update for me and you, because we saw each other in fucking tattoo shop, and then eventually we got that. I know I bothered you quite a bit over time.
Honestly, that's how it's got to be. Like,
no, it does. I know, because you're busy, right?
Yeah, that's how it's got to be. So
you
made it happen.
I'm glad you made it work. And for those listening, we're trying to put out 2 episodes every month. So stay tuned for a later month episode. I think I said who it was, but I'm not going to say who it is because I want it to remain a secret. I might cut it out. So, yeah, this has been the Film Forest Podcast, Episode 7. Thanks, guys.